What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 5 of the DT podcast. We have a very special guest with us today, Adam of Your Movie Sucks. How's it going, guys?
Hello. Great. I'm hyper on Red Bull right now, and that will only last a few minutes.
Oh, man.
This is early for me. Why do you do your podcast at 10 a.m. Pacific time?
Because it's supposed to be like a real podcast, like a real person, and like adults wake up
Like a
early and
morning
shit.
show?
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh,
Like,
well,
right, don't they do that?
I'm not a real adult, I guess.
Well, I'm trying to be. So
So-
here we are at 12 p.m. in the afternoon, waking up real early, and this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
So get your shit together, okay? Because I'm real
Can we just
mad
agree?
when it comes to a lot of these topics. So you need to be ready. You got to bring your A game, all right?
Oh.
Okay, I'll try.
Um,
Okay, we just agree that there's like internet adults and there's like real world adults, and that they're two different things. Can we at least agree on that? Ooh, yikes!
No,
Not e- ooh,
well, the
no,
problem is, like,
damn.
adults
I don't
are
know
like-
what you. I don't know what you mean.
adults are like in the internet and shit now. It used to be that it was all kids, but now you got adults doing podcasts and shit. So I don't know, man. I think you got to adult it up in the internet world now as well, right?
I guess so. I don't know. Maybe because like I live out in the sticks in the rural South, but like a lot of adults out here don't know how to use a computer still. Like they don't know how to type. They're like they're the peckers on the keyboard. They're not really like their spectrum of internet is like Facebook and kind of email when they need to, but they're not like they don't consume it like hardcore. So I don't know. Podcasting is outside their range. So yeah,
There's going-
they watch
Sorry.
like broadcast cable, not really like how we do.
I was
Like
gonna
if
say
you're
there's.
under 30, then it's a little bit different.
Sure. What were you saying, Adam?
I was just going to mention that there's going to be a point in time where there's more dead people on Facebook than alive people.
Oh, the
So most of the pages will just be memoriam.
the virtual
That is
graveyard.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a cool article about that. How many pages are there that how many like of the X amount of deaths per year? How many are Facebook pages that are just like, sitting idle? I forget the number actually.
How many people with Facebook accounts die? I read a study that says you're 100% likely to die if you own a Facebook account. Who's stopping this?
One of the one of the things that is really interesting to me that's very different today than it was in the past is that you always have like pictures of your old dead family members. I think it's going to be really weird when you can watch videos of them. I don't know. Does that kind of seem like a strange thing? Like when you think of like grandpa, you've got like old black and white pictures, and maybe like of family members, you've got like the really old VHS tapes. But now, like if I were to die, my kid can literally watch a YouTube channel like thousands of hours of his dad being like a young in his 20s person. That seems really strange to me. Not like in a bad way, but
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
it's the same experience that anyone related to a film star in any year would
Mhm.
have, but I guess now that's just more universal.
yeah.
Yeah,
I find it weirder that like people will grow up having this entire collection of videos of themselves as babies on their parents' Facebook profile, and that like pretty much every kid growing up will just be like, "Oh wow, mom, can you take that down, please?" She'll
Yeah.
be like, "No."
That's one of the. I mean, we talk about this all the time as content creators, or at least people on Twitch too. I guess it's a little different on YouTube because you can kind of choose what goes out there. But I'm sure even to the same extent, it's very weird that when I grew up, I don't actually know how old you are. I'm 30. When I grew up, it was pretty rare to have stuff on the internet of you like as a teen that was going to last forever. Like back then we posted on like MySpace and LiveJournal, and a lot of these sites are dead, and the content like wasn't like super prolific like Facebook and shit is now. It seems pretty scary that you can put stuff out there as a teenager that is pretty much always going to be tied to you. I would be royally fucked if that was the case growing up.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like yes, that's true, but at the same time, the more prevalent it is, then the less stigma there will be. Because it's like if it's affecting everybody, then it's like, okay, who can really criticize?
Oh, I don't know about that. And actually,
E.
what a great segue
Good
into
segue.
a topic that
Okay.
I haven't written at all. Actually, I don't
Okay.
know if this is on our list. How do you feel about the James Gunn stuff?
Oh, I feel like that's one of the worst examples because I was actually talking about it on my podcast I was doing. It's not out yet. I just edited it, but um, basically we were comparing it to the recent thing with Kevin Hart, where Kevin Hart essentially, said some questionable things, and then the Academy was like, okay, apologize or step down. He said, I'm not going to apologize. And so he stepped down, and he's like, okay, I'm not doing this. Whereas James Gunn, he didn't even have any say in the matter. Disney just wanted to avoid a controversy, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And, with Kevin Hart, it's like, okay, well, there's something there that reflects his real opinions. With James Gunn, it's like, it's so far removed from what he actually feels and believes. Like, the entire point of what he tweeted was like, haha, this is so offensive, it's funny. It was just edgy humor. And back when he made those tweets, like 8 years ago, he was making edgy movies too. Like, he made Super.
Yeah.
He made Slither. It was perfectly in line with the personality that he was displaying to the world. And so for Disney to be surprised at this and be like, oh, wow, back in 2008, apparently James Gunn was really edgy. Like, of course he was. Did you not do a background check on him when you hired him to take control of one of the most popular franchises in your library?
There's also a little bit more to it as well, if you wouldn't mind me getting into it here.
Sure.
One is that James Gunn actually apologized for the edgy jokes multiple times prior to the firing from Disney. And you're right,
okay.
Disney, he publicly apologized for it, I think like in 2010. And then I think another time even prior to the firing happening. Yeah, ultimately, from what I can get from it, like a high-level Disney exec saw, by the way here, the shout-out to the tweet was by, I don't know the name of the person here, unfortunately, but it was some right winger trying to get like a
like fucking Cernovich.
Yeah, he was because James Gunn was doing a lot of like anti-Trump tweeting, and that pissed off the right wing or whatever, and that one guy was like, look at this tweet right here, no context given, no one's looking at the date or whatever, and everyone freaked out. And then some high-level Disney exec caught word of this early on and went for like the super hard read and just fired him entirely. And then I would imagine there was probably an internal panic because we made the wrong move. But because of the arrogance of Disney executives, they can't admit they were wrong. So they have to like just kind of like sit here and...
What Adam said earlier is actually 100% what it was. Anybody that's pretending that like Disney's just noticing it and is like super offended is really dumb. I think it's just that Disney just wants to avoid completely any potential like bad PR. They're just worried that somebody's going to dig up another tweet or that they're going to get associated with some crazy shit that he said. They don't give a fuck that he said it. What they care about is that it's in the public spotlight now.
Yeah, it's manufactured controversy because like even Cernovich understands like that it wasn't serious. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah. He's
like intentionally lying to people, and that kind of pisses me off. But
yeah. And I would take issue with I don't know exactly what your topic was on your podcast, but I think that the Kevin Hart stuff I think is a lot worse than the James Gunn stuff. Yeah.
As in the situation or like the
I wasn't. I feel like
whatever.
Kevin Hart at least at one point in time. Now I don't know how recent his tweets are, how recent this idea is. I'd have to go back, but I'm like 95% sure that Kevin Hart is actually pretty extremely homophobic, or at least he was at the point in time. Like when you're saying things like, I don't really mind gay people. I think they're cool and everything. But God, if my son was fucking gay, I'm a failure of a father. It's like, damn, dude. Like, are you sure you don't mind gay people? Yeah.
So
I still think that he should be able to host the Oscars though.
Yeah, no, I probably agree with that. I go back and forth on that just because some people were saying that he apologized, but then when I went back and I looked at it, it sounded like it wasn't really an apology, it was a non-apology. Like, I don't know. I do get uncomfortable digging up things like 10 years ago to crucify people, but yeah. Sorry, go ahead, I think, Trax.
Oh no, yeah. The date for it was, I believe, 2011. The tweet in question about if my son was gay or if my son played with a dollhouse, I would break the dollhouse and tell him that that's gay, don't do that. That's the idea of the joke anyway. That tweet came from I think it was 2011. And yeah, you're right. The apology was like, it was, if I recall correctly, it was in an interview at some magazine, and it was kind of a non-apology because he kind of like called the whole reaction to those tweets as a witch hunt, and that if you think of not reformed by now, you're crazy, and that it's crazy what people will crucify you for. So yeah, it was kind of like this is an overreaction in his opinion, and here's a non-apology about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was a single tweet with him though.
No, it was a lot.
It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. There's more.
it's
There's more. Definitely.
littered throughout like all of his material, tons of tweets. He gave an interview saying he would never play a gay character because he's worried that people would think he's gay. And then it's like, okay, well, what is acting? So you're saying you don't play characters and that you don't act and you're not a real actor? Like, what are you saying? So yeah, very questionable things he said, but at the same time, I don't think that he should have had to step down from hosting the Oscars because I don't know, like every person is a work in progress, and some people it's like a little more difficult to change their minds about a subject, and I don't really think that the best way to get someone to evolve their perspective is to create a big controversy and try to get them stepping down from any kind of job or position that they have.
Risk in a high investment production. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's so funny watching the Oscars right now because they've been fucking up so bad for like a few years, definitely. I mean, forever, but like the past few years, it's just been such a dumpster fire. It's so funny
for the youth to get involved. I mean, there's things like the fact that so one is that I remember reading somewhere that they're considering having no host this year, which is kind of crazy.
You're the host.
Yeah, I don't even know what that even
hosts.
means. They're scamming
everyone.
for that.
It's YouTube Rewind.
And then, actually, Adam, I'd love to know how you feel about their attempts to broaden their audience and or get the youth involved. Because I don't think like the average age of an Oscar viewer is like 105.
What?
I would think. I don't think anyone under 30 is like tuning into the Oscars to watch. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong here. You hear about it, you get social media engagement after the fact, but I don't think you're getting like people watching actively.
Sorry.
No, please. Am I wrong right there, or do you already have a disagreement?
I don't think most young people watch the Oscars, but I think the biggest reason why is because they don't live stream it on the internet. So if it's just a cable thing, like young people don't have cable. And honestly, I have cable, but it's literally only for the Oscars. And I do like obviously it's for my job, and I stream my reaction to it and all that, but like holy crap, I really don't watch anything else all year, and it's just I'm paying so much stupid money for literally one show on one channel at one point in time every year. And it's ridiculous. But yeah, it's crazy. I do find it hilarious just how much they're grasping at straws trying to gain an audience back, because last year was apparently one of the lowest ratings for the Oscars in, I don't know, like 50 years. It was literally like one of the lowest ever. Nobody watched it. And I think partially that was because Jimmy Kimmel hosted again, and he was not funny the first time.
Right.
And also, it's just like, I don't know, it's funny. It's funny watching them try to do things and then just immediately having to backpedal because it's a stupid idea. Like they did they announced the popular achievement.
I was going to say,
the
most populous award, which is the AKA give Disney recognition every year for free.
Well, they already do. That's the animated category. That's
exactly.
Like, you know.
Which, by the way, I'm getting so upset about that too, because best animated film, like, we're getting to that really weird point now where, like, are you really gonna call Jungle Book 2016 live action? Are you really gonna call
the Lion King movie live action? Yeah.
Are you gonna call that live action? Because it's like,
oh man,
99% effect shots galore. I don't know. It's like this really weird thing where like the medium dictates the celebration rather than like the content of the medium, I guess. I don't know. I like to call back here to the whole to the commentary that Brad Bird did on The Incredibles 1, where he was like, I don't get why like animation has to be its own genre when like animation can be like comedy or romantic or action or whatever. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, that I don't know, but I get those give animation whatever it can animation. Get. So.
Oh really? I didn't know that. But then again, I don't watch the Oscars, so.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of dumb shit that doesn't really matter except for the careers of those who get nominated and win awards.
Does it? I'm actually curious. Does winning an Oscar get you anything in terms of like? Do you think that people actually get more roles because of that rather than a director?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. If you're an Oscar winning anything, then you get more roles, you get more deals, you get more work. So
Yeah, it's a
you
big
get more
flex.
creative freedom. If you're a director, there are studios that will give you money and try to have less control over your projects.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you'll be more likely to get a project greenlit, which is nice. So I'm always happy to see people that I like getting some sort of Oscar recognition, but it's very clear that the Academy doesn't take movies as seriously as me. I don't know. There's so many things that where it's just like, oh, wow, you totally didn't even know this movie existed. You know,
All right, so
I
for that,
feel anyway.
Gotcha.
I got two hot ones for you here, Adam. So the first one is, in your fairy tale unicorn world, what could the Oscars do to not suck so much ass every year, if that's possible? Or like, what could they do to go in a better direction, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, they could take their jobs more seriously. Have you seen those articles where um they interview Academy voters about the animated feature category, and like 90% of them are saying shit like, ah, this is for kids. I didn't even watch it. I just picked the Disney one. Like they're literally saying that, and there's like they don't
Wow.
watch all the movies that they vote on. You know, all these Academy voters, not every single one of them, but so many of them are just like, get my maid to watch it. Like they don't care about what they're doing, and it's I don't know. Like they think that their answer is like, oh yeah, we'll just have our Academy voting block being more diverse. It's like, well, I just want people to take their jobs seriously, and I want them to be passionate about what they're doing. And it's very clear that they're not,
Mm-hmm.
and it really shows. You know, regardless of who wins or loses, it's clear that the Lego Movie wasn't even nominated for animated feature. You'd think that that would be a shoo-in. You'd think that
Oh,
that would
I
be
didn't
like a
know that.
default. Yeah, it wasn't even. It was nominated for Best Original Song, which is ironic because the song was intentionally bad. It was
Right.
an
Yeah.
ironic song to try and parody pop music, and that got a nomination, but not the actual movie. And what won that year? It was like Big Hero 6, which I thought sucked. And then they had like the other nominations like Box Trolls, like things that nobody watched. And it's like, okay, you clearly you didn't watch the Lego movie, or there's a conflict of interest, and you're trying to make it so that Disney and Pixar is the shoe-in because the Oscars is owned by ABC and ABC is owned by Disney. So
That would make sense. And you're right, because like a movie was produced by Warner Brothers. So
yeah.
that would be that's not a hot take there. It's a pretty tangible conspiracy.
Yeah.
And then the
My
second question
tinfoil
was,
hat.
what was the biggest snub in your opinion as far as Oscars go? Like you probably have many here, but is there one that comes to mind that you're just like, what? How the fuck did that not win? Or I don't what?
Um Well, for like nominations, I would say like the Lego Movie, or last year, Good Time was like one of the best movies of the year for sure. But clearly the Academy didn't watch it because it's a little controversial. It's a little too indie and not like a fun, happy, safe movie or whatever. The biggest snub I would say for um the Oscar award in recent memory, I know that there's tons of them if you go further back, but like the most
Right.
recent one would be Michael Keaton in Birdman
And
losing to
Birdman.
Eddie Redmayne for The Theory of Everything. That was his year. That was his award. Eddie Redmayne, you stole the award. Give it to Michael Keaton. You don't deserve it. It
Mm-hmm.
always goes to biopic actors. Like if you look at the
Oh,
statistics of
biography films.
best
Right.
actor, yeah, they're always going to biopic actors. And half of the success of the performance when you're doing a biopic is casting. A lot of it is somebody being smart, making the casting decision, saying, "Hey, Eddie Redmayne looks a lot like, or you any actor versus the real person, like, oh, they could probably play them very well." And it's like, yeah, the actor deserves credit too, for sure, and it's a great performance, but I feel like the casting is equally as responsible in those situations. Michael Keaton did such an amazing job. That was like his redemption role, and he didn't win. And you can actually look at the Oscars footage. he had a speech ready, and you can see him put it back in his pocket.
No, oh my
Yeah.
God, I didn't know that, dude.
It's so sad. It breaks my heart. That was his award. He knew it. Everybody knew it. Screw you, Academy.
Dude, I didn't know that. Also,
Yeah.
I apologize here. This is a guilty thing. I'm a lot of here. I didn't catch Birdman. I still need to go watch it. It's on my ever-ending
great.
queue of things. But I have heard
Sure.
great things about it, though.
Oh yeah, it was my favorite movie of 2014, closely followed by Whiplash.
Hell yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
do you want
very,
to
very satisfying?
do you want to segue that into talking about La La Land, or is that like a hot topic right there? I feel like that's like a hot topic.
What about it? Oh, the Oscars fuck up, like Moonlight and La La Land, or what?
Well, more that the critic meta that his other film La La Land is like quote unquote overrated and or borrows too much from other musicals, or like,
Well, it was a
or-
love letter to Hollywood. I mean, it's supposed to be derivative in ways, you know. Like it's supposed. I mean, it's trying to encapsulate something that already exists. So it's you know, I don't know if it borrows too much because it's kind of trying to be that, I think. But I really enjoyed it. I thought the music was great, performances, cinematography. But yeah, I've only seen it once. I would like to see it again. Whiplash, I think, is better, but
cool. Yeah, I ended up seeing it twice in theaters. I enjoyed it a lot.
mm-hmm.
I even admired it more because I was reading further into the production of it, how like Emma Stone like borrowed from real what's the word here, tryouts. I don't know.
Oh yeah, like auditions.
Audition. I kept thinking the word auditorium. I was like, what's the word here again? Auditions. Yeah. Trying to borrow from real world auditions where like the whole this minor thing here. It's in the trailer though, but like whenever like a executive comes in and interrupts her audition, telling the other executive that launches in 5 minutes, like completely taking her out of the immersiveness of her own scene, that actually happened to her before, and that does sound devastating, dude.
Oh yeah, it's an interesting world.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I'm not an actor.
Because you find it super stressful, or like
it seems like it would be, yeah. And I mean, like, so many talented people out there that don't get jobs, and so many not so talented people out there that do. A lot of it's based on your agent. A lot of it's based on your looks, you know. So, and then there's the whole thing of like, if you want to be a serious actor, it's like you got to move to LA, and then that's like literally everybody competing at the same time. And so the entire city is just filled with restaurant workers who are just trying to land their role, and it's just such a depressing place.
Yeah, I hear it's actually insane. Like just even trying to like become an extra in the background is like pretty competitive.
Yeah. Like most acting
Oh.
jobs go to commercials. Go to all those like drug ads you see in the States.
I mean, that's kind of true of a lot of like that kind of
meds.
like artsy work, though, right? Like if you're a musician, you're probably going to be playing in commercials. If you're doing voice acting, you're probably going to be starting there before. Yeah.
Yeah, ads are everything. It's where the money is. It's what people pay to have things made for.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Okay, so here's like or do you have another? Okay. So this is kind of like a general trend that I notice, and I always kind of read at my audience, and we get into arguments about this kind of stuff a lot. I really liked Whiplash as a movie, and one of the reasons why I really liked it is because I thought that movie was like focused on a razor edge. Like it had like there was a story, and I had this feeling that every single part of the movie was like geared towards that story. So like every scene was necessary to telling the story. Every shot, everything was just required to do what it was trying to do. One of the kind of feelings that I get these days when I watch a lot of movies is it feels like there's a lot of stuff, and I watch it and I see it and I'm thinking, why the fuck was any of this on the screen? Like a lot of this is very fucking confusing to me. And there are, I don't have the same like breadth of movies that you do, but I notice this in a lot of newer ones I watch. And I guess like when I try to think of a couple particular ones, did you, I don't know, I don't have strong feelings about Star Wars, but did you watch Rogue One?
That's the one. I think that's the only one I haven't seen, actually.
Oh, fuck.
But
Okay.
Yeah,
I
that'd be a
understand
good
that
one.
it's essentially like Halo
Mm.
Reach or something is what I understand.
Well, there are
it
just
is.
like there are so many parts in movies today where it feels like what I'm watching is what is it? I remember back in grade school, you would have like you would do brainstorming, and then you would do like your first draft, and then, I feel like I'm watching either a brainstorm or a first draft when I see a lot of movies where I'm watching it and it's like I understand what they're going for here, but it feels like this needed like an edit to actually bring it together, make another like an actual real story. Here's something that I know you
It's
saw.
a spinoff.
Yeah, but it's more. I'm criticizing the film itself, not necessarily the concept.
Yeah.
So here's something like in particular that I would bring up. You watched the new Halloween movie, right?
Yes.
This is a movie that honestly, when I watched this was one of from what it felt like to me. This seemed like one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life, without that being an exaggeration. But it seems like most of the reviews for it are relatively positive. But there are so many things happening on screen that that absolutely fucking bewilder me. Do you have a pretty fresh idea in mind of this movie that you watched? Do you remember?
Yeah, I think so. I was very disappointed by it. I wouldn't consider myself to be like a big fan of the original franchise even, but like I respect it and I understand that it it has an important place in film history, and especially starting the slasher trend. But it just I think that a lot of people loved it because it offered the same kind of like tone and vibe as like a shitty 70s 80s slasher movie. But at the same time, I was kind of I don't think that it can ride solely on that. And I don't think that like the presentation was to a T something that was like fresh out of the 70s and 80s. I think that would have been cooler if they filmed it on like super old cameras like Black Dynamite or like House of the Devil or something.
Sure.
I think that would have been cool. But it's just, yeah, I didn't care about any of the characters. None of the deaths were like creative or interesting. Like
Or
the
they might
closest
have
thing
been.
we got to that was like the head stomp.
Yeah, some of them
it.
might have been, but some of them even happened off screen, which is kind of weird. Like I remember there's one where a cop walks in and the kid is like attached to the wall with like some murder device, and then the one where you like the cop walks by and the kid is like embedded through the fence post or whatever. But for some reason, all of these happen off screen.
Yeah.
My main criticism, though,
Yeah,
isn't
it was really.
it's a little more than
Sorry.
that. It's not so much that like, it was just supposed to be like an old slasher movie, et cetera, et cetera. Like that's something that I would disagree with even, because like I would watch a movie like that, and I understand that you can make certain movies in certain ways, and if you don't like those movies, that's fine. So for instance, something like John Wick or Taken, right? These are like revenge flicks, and I think that these movies do a good job in what they're trying to do, right? You're going to watch a guy basically kill a fuck ton of people trying to accomplish a pretty simple objective, and that's really all you're going for, and that's what you're saying, right? If I'm gonna go see Halloween and somebody's telling me like, oh, Halloween, this is just gonna be like a simple slasher film, like don't go in expecting anything more, even going in with that, I would be incredibly disappointed, because it's like the first 30 minutes of the movie is I don't know what type of movie I'm watching. In the first 5 minutes, you get these journalists who are like pondering these deep introspective questions. Why does a murderer do what a murderer does? What's driving Jason? It's like these are ultimately irrelevant to the film. You've got this weird obsession with like the doctor guy who's trying to find out, like, why does Jason kill people? Like, oh, I don't know, I'm gonna figure it out. And it's like, this doesn't really matter to the film. You've got like these weird cinematic things where like the focus on the yellow box, like don't cross the yellow line, like, oh wow, I wonder if this is going to have something, and it's like all of it is ultimately totally irrelevant to the idea of like making a slasher movie. And I feel like I'm seeing this in a lot of movies lately, where there's like a lot of focus or a lot of screen time spent on things that just aren't really important to the overall story at all.
Yeah, I feel like they made a slasher movie for sure, but I just don't feel like in the grand scheme of slasher movies it was anything special. It was pretty tame for a slasher movie. I felt I was like, wow, this aside from a couple shots, this could have just been PG-13. If I'm gonna go in and see the new Halloween movie and people are, it's gonna be the big horror movie that's supposed to be a return to slasher movies, I would hope for at least some points in the film that made me feel like, oh wow, that's intense, or wow, that's disturbing, or something. But I couldn't take any of it seriously. Like the only job that they have is to make me feel like the villain is not a big joke, and unfortunately, I don't think that they did that successfully.
Oh yeah, the whole ending sequence was like him in the house and the
Spoilers.
Yeah. Oh, are we supposed to spoil alert? Oh god. Yeah, that was
you only
that whole
spoiler
lady's
movies you like.
That
the
whole
rule.
lady's character was so mind-blowing to me too. Like the whole premise of the movie, and even in the trailers, the Jamie Lee Curtis character, the idea that like she was like some ultimate like trained commando badass, but like every scene that she's in, she's like stumbling around, like she seems just kind of like another awkward old lady without like, I don't know.
Yeah, you know, I also found it weird that like this destroys the other films in the timeline. So this is pretending like only the first film existed and nothing else happened.
Yeah.
And she is convinced of this character's will to murder her and thinks that he's some sort of a superhero, when if the other films in the franchise didn't exist, sorry, supervillain, I guess. If the other films in the franchise didn't exist, then there's no real reason why she would believe that, apart from just the ending of the original Halloween movie. It's like, oh, he got shot, but then he got up, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like, otherwise, there's no real reason to believe that he has supernatural powers, because it was just like, oh, wow, it's like some of my friends died, but that's it. And so it's kind of bizarre that they destroyed the other films in the franchise, but then acted kind of as though they still existed, because you're supposed to know that Michael Myers is this like all-powerful invincible being. I don't know why she assumed that, and she just happened to be right, but
sure. Here's like one other yeah, I agree. Here's one other big question that I have. If you can explain this, like this was the most bewildering shot to me in the entire movie. It seemed like for so much of the movie, they were trying to establish whether or not, like what Jason, or I keep saying Jason, fuck, what Michael Myers' cause was for being a murderer, and I guess they end up with the cause that he's actually just like pure evil, right?
oh yeah, and it's so funny because the embodiment of pure evil just decides not to kill a baby.
Why? Like, that was a scene where as soon as it happened, I understood immediately why they put that scene in there. Oh, well, we're really going to establish he's about to murder a kid. Like, that's really... But then he walks by, and it's like, as a filmmaker, you only have so many seconds. I could be totally wrong because I'm into the process, but I feel like most films probably have like dozens of hours laying on the editing floor, right? There's probably like tons of shit that like you don't have in your movie. So I feel like you probably have to make these decisions on what you want to include. So this idea of him walking by, like, this is the easiest way to embody pure evil, is killing children. Like, you don't even have to try. Like, that just automatically makes you a super big bad guy. Yeah. Oh God, the movie was so fucking confusing me on so many different levels.
Yeah, it would have been. I think it would have been a better movie if he actually murdered a defenseless baby, because then that would have been like, oh wow, you actually did something that's interesting. Oh wow, you actually did something that's brutal. You know, not just like, oh, we're gonna tease it, and then it's like, he's not that bad. He's not that evil.
It's like
he's not so bad. Like, come on, why would you even put that there? Like, why would you make that tease? And then, you know, a lot of people are saying like, oh, but he did kill a kid. It's like, yeah, kind of off. I mean, it didn't look really. The death was kind of off screen. He kind of just like grabbed him. Like, I don't know. It was kind of a weird death. It wasn't brutal in any way. It was just like, oh, he technically killed a kid. And then when there's like an actual opportunity for something to be like brutal, it just didn't take it. And it's like, wow, you're really playing it safe for a movie that's trying to be the new Halloween movie.
It was rated R too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why they couldn't have done that, but it's like, you just don't have the balls.
Yeah, I guess. Okay, go try extend with your topic. Take them out.
Okay, so well, I just want to say here, I wish I could have participated in this conversation, but I had not yet seen Halloween, and I was going to, but it was already out of theaters this week, unfortunately, so I wasn't able to partake in shitting on Halloween as well. But I kind of gave up on horror as an entirety quite a while ago. I could tell you really briefly here. I did go see. My girlfriend wanted to go see a horror film because it was Halloween last year, and we went to go see Lights Out, and it was absolutely terrible. And
why would you watch that?
Oh, I told her, I'm like, man, I don't know. The trailer looks fucking awful. This looks boring as shit. It looks super gimmicky. It's gonna be really predictable. They're gonna all behave like idiots. It's gonna be some non-immersive bullshit. And what do you know? It was non-immersive, idiotic people doing dumb, bad decisions, and it was boring as shit. And the plot went, and there was like a B plot about the girlfriend and the boyfriend that goes fucking nowhere, completely unresolved, and makes no fucking sense. But anyways, it was stupid. But
I feel like there's a good horror movie every 2 or 3 years. People get mad when I say that, but I genuinely feel like most horror movies are shit. Most movies are shit. but
movies
most
are
horror
shit.
movies are also shit.
I mean, we had a good horror movie. I thought Get Out was really good. I really enjoyed that movie.
Yeah, if that's a horror movie, horror comedy, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
That's
Yeah.
more like a what would you call it? Like a thriller? It's like psychological thriller? Or is that not
Yeah,
really
I
a
would call it more of a thriller, but I mean, horror. I'll accept
I'll
that.
take what I can get though. Yeah, it was great.
It's
I
not like
look
a
forward
true
to.
horror, but sorry.
Okay.
Well,
I didn't know we were doing genre elitism here. I'm sorry, guys. Keep continue.
I'm just trying my best to define
yeah,
it. I guess.
I'm trying to sound smart, is all.
All right.
Well, actually, if you want me to, Destiny, I would love to slow things down a little bit and get to know YMS a little bit better here. Actually, so you're a big movie reviewer / critic on YouTube. You know, you've amassed over 800K subscribers now, so you're no small fish in the pond at this point. How'd your channel start? Because I feel like most people that in your position, you guys started as like film enthusiasts that maybe wanted to get into filmmaking, and then you take all that maybe perhaps studies from film school or whatever, and then you went into, and like the pastime became critiquing films as you develop your scope of like better understanding good film from bad filmmaking. But yeah, how did your channel start, if I can ask?
Well, I did not go to film school. I heavily debated it. Vancouver Film School is like 32 grand, and they didn't really have the courses that I wanted. But basically it all just came from me being really passionate about movies, and then eventually I realized that that's what I was. I every DVD that I would rent, I would go through all the special features and commentaries, and I feel like, if you want to learn about movies, there's no reason to have a middleman there anyway. Just hear it straight from the filmmakers. They'll tell you exactly how they did what they did, exactly what the purpose was for what they did. And I feel like special features are a very valuable resource for that. And so obviously I learned a lot from that. I would have friends and a bunch of other people that would be asking me for recommendations. And then at a certain point I would be like, wow, I get a lot of people asking me for recommendations on things. And so apparently they think that, not necessarily that I have like superior taste, but that I understand what they like well enough to be able to recommend them something that they would want to see. And so I made a really short video on my vlog channel, just like a, face to the camera sort of thing. And I reviewed the film Sunshine. It's not very good. It was my first attempt. And I hadn't really broken out of my shell yet in terms of, I was still like really nervous around the camera. And that was my first attempt. And then I didn't really, think about it any much more after that until I saw the like the Plinkett reviews, which, were great. I really loved them. And I really, the Star Trek, Star Wars ones. And it was at that moment where I realized, because this was like fairly early YouTube online publishing, it was at that moment that I realized, oh, hey, this is a format that would work well for me, because I tried the, talk to a camera thing. I didn't really feel like I was able to express myself all that well doing it. And so I was like, oh, well, I can just get a microphone and I can talk over the film clips. And so my very first video on my channel, it's not great. It's literally just like a complete ripoff of Red Letter Media's style, because I was still just getting into and trying to figure out my own style. But, as each video gets made and as I changed myself to make myself my own personality and discover my own strengths and weaknesses and figure out what I want to be doing, then eventually, it built itself up. And it was also, I created the channel in 2010. I was 19 years old, I think. And it's slow but steady growing of subscribers. I've been doing it full time since 2013.
Well, congratulations. That's actually really, really
Thank
awesome.
you.
So now I gotta ask the big question here, because all right, so the name of the channel, Your Movie Sucks. That's a big flex right there. I gotta know how you arrived at that name, because like that's what caught my attention when I first ran into you. Was like, man, this man's flexing hard right now. Your Movie Sucks. Is there like a deep, cool story behind the lore of that name?
Well, after watching the Plinkett reviews and after understanding, I already knew that there's plenty of movies that people universally loved that I was just like, nah, this is shit. You know, that like I have genuine opinions like that, and I find myself to be, you know, constantly not necessarily unaligned, but you know, some might consider me a tough critic if that's what you want to call me. But I realize that to do things comedically, one of the things that people really love to see is to tear something down. And if I have opinions on movies like Precious and Toy Story 3 and et cetera, where I actually have something unique to say, then I'm at least standing out a bit. And even if people get upset and disagree, then hopefully they can, you know, watch the video and be like, oh, you know what, that was actually kind of funny, or that was well edited, or something like that. And so the first, as I was just starting out, I didn't title my videos like YMS Toy Story 3. I titled them Toy Story 3 Sucks in like big capital letters to try and get a bunch of attention. And obviously, you know, like that, I just, it's just an understanding of how internet algorithms work. And, you know, it was a way to promote myself. And so eventually when I had a consistent audience, I just changed the titles to something less clickbaity because I don't need that. Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, it was, I think that I've proven myself enough in a way that people understand that I don't think everything sucks, and that I have a lot of recommendations for things that I love, and I'm not just, you know, I'm not just trying to hate things like some people think.
Do you ever, I'm curious because I get this a lot, do you ever feel like you have like a really good argument or an opinion on something that seems to be kind of contrary to the mainstream and people just like scream contrarian at you? Do you ever deal with that, or does that frustrate you?
Of course, all the time. Yeah.
Is that ever
especially
frustrating
when
you?
It's something that, well, I mean, yeah, it really depends, because sometimes like I kind of try to anticipate based on how well the movie is doing, or you know what the franchise is and what the fan base is, and so I'll try to make kind of preemptive arguments in a way. But there's some that really surprised me. Like Mission Impossible Fallout, I thought that was like fine. I didn't think it was great. I gave it like a literally a neutral rating of 5 out of 10.
That was the most recent one, right?
Well, yeah, the most recent one.
I said there's the action scenes are great, but the other scenes I couldn't get into. And I got shat on so hard, and I didn't even say anything like, I thought I made my argument perfectly well. I thought that I perfectly communicated, hey, this is just my opinion, and I don't, you know, check out the movie if you're a fan of the franchise, but I'm not, you know, and just people freaked out over that one.
Yeah, man, there are some big Mission Impossible fanboys out there, dude.
I had no idea.
On Tom Cruise, they get butthurt real quick.
It was so surprising.
I totally forgot that I saw that movie, and now that you remind me, and I just look it up, and I see that all the scores are really good for it. The one thing I remember about that movie, my strongest impression of that, there are two big ones. One, holy fuck, that movie was long, and it felt long. That movie had like one or two too many action sequences in it. Damn, that movie felt like it dragged hardcore. Every time, fuck, I wish I could remember the movie more clearly. All of it was like so forgettable. But I remember there was like at the end of like one or two action sequences, I felt like, okay, we're getting to the climax. Like this is it. And then it was like totally new area. And I was like, oh shit, we're still like we're not even like halfway in or whatever. Like, yeah, that was like really crazy to me. I thought that the ending fight was really interesting. This is like kind of nitpicky, but like the idea that like the I guess spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, like where it felt like Tom Cruise's character was fighting with the advantages, and normally that goes the other way around. Like I remember the main character, the main like antagonist was like crawling up a plane, and like hot oil is like falling in his face and shit, and then he still fights Tom Cruise's character. It's like, oh, that's interesting. Normally it's like the good character that has to fight, but yeah, I remember saying I didn't think it was bad, but again, yeah, I guess kind of with yours, it's just like kind of meh and really fucking long.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Actually, I agree with you, Destiny. I can recall here whenever they're in Paris, and like and after like the big action sequence happens, and it's Tom Cruise and the other chick meeting that one little like area with the trees and everything. I thought that was like, you know, right before Act 3 kicks into full gear. But like, yeah, we had a whole nother gotta go to somewhere else and do some whole other shit with the other thing and the satellites and the fucking the detonation switch, and of course, you know, Again, I agree though. It is beautifully shot, and it is like there are some really sick action scenes in there.
Yeah, the action sequences were very, very well directed. And I gave it credit for that, but people still got really pissed off to the point where like it's always so obvious when there's like a huge like rabid fan base behind something, because then it's no longer about the movie. Then it's like they're making personal attacks
Yeah,
and like
it's an extension
starting
of their
threads
identity.
and other subreddits and like, did you know he's a bad person? Just like, what? Okay, calm down. It's a movie.
Yeah.
It's whenever a movie franchise becomes an extension of your identity because you have
Isn't that
debatably
every
a shallow
movie franchise?
Yeah,
Some more than others.
Man, I remember I don't know, I should have watched your video on, I don't know what you thought about episode 7. I watched episode 7 of Star Wars, and I'm not like a huge Star Wars fan. Some people are very allegiant to Star Wars. I thought episode 7 was okay. Like, I watched it, I was like, this is better than all the prequels. It's not like an amazing movie, but it's okay. Man, there are some people with some very fucking strong opinions about that, though. Holy shit.
Did you not say once that like the original trilogy was like your favorite movies or something?
Well, compared to the prequels, I thought that the original did things a lot better.
Compared to the prequels.
Yeah. But I'm not like I don't know if I would ever recommend them today. I don't know if they like hold up well.
Okay.
Yeah. As opposed to something like I guess it's a lot newer, but something like The Matrix, which is definitely dated, but I think is like clearly like anybody that likes action movies would watch that and enjoy that. I don't know if you could say the same about Star Wars.
Yeah, my thoughts on the new Star Wars movies, I'm kind of like, I don't know. I thought episode 7 was good, not great. Like it was my expectations for it. Like I'm not a huge Star Wars fan either, but I was just very surprised to see people shitting on it so hard when it's like, isn't this exactly what you wanted? Because in my perspective, it's like, okay, you knew that Disney was doing this, right? And you know that it's like 2017 or 2016 or whenever it came out. You know, this is literally, if you know anything about Disney and anything about movies in the current year, this is literally what it would be. This is exactly, and people were excited for it up until it came out. I'm like, well, what did you expect? Of course this wasn't going to be like the original trilogies. Of course it was going to be like a copy and paste safe version, you know. And I was like, okay, well, for what that was, it was pretty all right. But I just otherwise it's not great. I'm not gonna buy them on Blu-ray. I'm not gonna watch them multiple times.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, yeah, this is like dumb popcorn fun, whatever. Yeah. The discussion on episode 8 is really interesting and annoying at the same time.
Oh man, what are you the same in that? I hated that one. I actually legitimately thought it was fucking.
Yeah.
There were so many things that bothered me about that movie. Yeah.
I mean, there's ton that I found there to be like a lot of really stupid parts for sure. I didn't find the whole experience to be bad. I found some of the cinematography to be interesting. I really liked the sequence with the red sand, although that also includes that really stupid self-sacrifice scene, which was just awful. Like there's things that I like about it and things that I hate about it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I'm just like, well, this is a Star Wars movie, because I don't really have a high perspective on the whole franchise in general.
Yeah.
So maybe that's warping my opinion a little. But
it's another thing where people go out of their way to do things. Actually, this movie suffers a lot from things where I would bring that criticism back from earlier, where it felt like a first edit, or like that whenever you draw the paper and you do your brainstorming, like a brainstorming session where they had like a ton of ideas, and it's like this needed to be hardcore edited down to make like an actual coherent story. There were so many confusing.
There's a lot that didn't need to be there.
Yeah, and things that were like just very weird to me that I would expect to have like for instance, the whole them going to that side planet and coming back, them doing that without getting orders to do it and kind of like subversively, is the reason why like I guess like 80% of the rebel people got shot and killed, because they brought the dude back that let them track the cloaking ships. And I thought that was going to be like a really big deal, where like those characters were going to have to wrestle with the gravity of what they did. Like, oh fuck, like it's literally our fault that like 70, but like that's like never even mentioned. And I don't know, there's like a lot of weird shit like that, like weird decisions that are being made, and it's like I don't know why you wouldn't just like tighten this up. Like it's just Star Wars. You don't have to tell like a very, and then it's like really cringy whenever, this is like another huge pet peeve I have, when a movie like tries to like deal with something that's really fucking heavy, but they do it for like 2 seconds. I remember there was that scene where the guy was like, oh, like look, these people sell to the Empire, they're bad, and it's like, oh well, they also sell to the rebellion, so it's all morally gray. And it's like I'm rolling my eyes so hard. It's like, okay, like is this really like the appropriate time to deal with something like this, like the grayness of arms dealing and, you know, in conflict? Like, are we really going to get into this? I don't know. Ugh.
Yeah. I feel like it probably I probably won't enjoy it as much on a second watch.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I'm not sure I want to watch it for a second time anyway.
Yeah.
I kind of just like when episode 9 comes out, I'm just gonna like go to the theaters, watch it once, and be like, oh, okay, maybe there'll be a twist that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah,
I thought
it
there were a
was
lot of
also
interesting twists in
ridiculous.
8, like how Snoke was a totally fucking pointless character, and I was kind of into. All right, I'm sorry, I'm done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can agree on a lot of those points there. Snoke was pointless. Ray's parents are baited from 7 to 8 being nothing.
Dude, I started
the entire
banning when people came into my Discord to argue with me to defend that movie. The second they would say like subvert your expectations, I would just leave the
oh
conversation.
my god,
That
dude,
was the
yeah.
easiest fucking like out for me ever. When somebody said, "Well, it subverts your expectations," okay, well, I'm about to subvert yours. See it. That's so stupid. Oh my
That's
god.
funny.
The casino plot in its entirety is nonsense. Finn's arc for me is lackluster and really unfulfilling. I agree with you. The sacrifice scene on the snow planet was dumb. Yeah, I had a lot of problems with A2, and then not to mention the whole. We talked about this briefly on our last episode, if I recall correctly here. But the kamikaze hyperdrive or warp speed maneuver kind of like has to like now be established in retcon, I would imagine, because if you can always kamikaze into hyperdrive, then that means that other ships when they were getting gunned down at their peril moment could have U-turned into hyperdrive maybe or some shit.
Yeah, I just
Maybe.
like I really don't expect any sort of logic or consistency from the franchise, and maybe that's why I was just like not surprised by it. I know there's a lot of people that say that it literally ruins the whole franchise for them, but to me it's just like, well, I never really thought it was like it wasn't. I don't think that Star Wars are like the best films ever made, and
Yeah.
I know that a lot of people do. So I'm just like I'm really just lukewarm on it, I guess.
No, you're right. It's the same movie where like the prince what's her name? Princess I'm sorry, I'm being
Princess
terrible
Leia?
right now. Yeah, where she just like, uses her super Jedi powers and is frozen in space and then flies back to that ship magically. So who am I to argue about this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree though. And then one more thought here on episode 7 is that I'm not offended by it because to me it was less about it being a good movie, more about it being the optimal commercial product. It needed to be the thing to bridge old fans and start a new generation of new fans. And the safest, most effective way to do that and to ultimately make the hardcore fans forgive the shittiness of the prequels is to just, tonefully remake episode 4 and give a new starting point from here onward.
Yeah,
so it did its job commercially very, very well. And that's not my opinion on the film particularly, but just that I get what Kathleen Kennedy and all of them at Lucasfilm were going for. So all I can say is like, yeah, no wonder you made 1.5 billion worldwide because you did your job. You did your job really well. It wasn't to make a great film; it was to like make the optimal commercial product so that Star Wars can be a thing, ideally yearly from here on forever because of your Disney acquisition of Lucasfilm.
Yeah, so we'll see. If Disney keeps spamming them, then they're just gonna drive people away. But
did you watch Solo?
We'll see what they do. Yeah, I did.
Oh man,
it was fine. It wasn't great. It wasn't good, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I expected. There's just some. I really don't like the reveal of how he got his name. I found that to be the cringiest shit. One passenger. Oh, you're going solo, huh? Well, maybe you should call yourself Solo. Oh,
yeah.
Like, did we really need that? Did we really need an explanation for why he's called Solo?
I don't know if it's like a requirement of things, but when I think of prequels, I guess the thing that I like, this is actually what I think. Fuck, I hate that we're talking about Star Wars so much because I honestly don't care that much about Star Wars. But
sure,
yeah, there are so many fucking problems that I feel like are good. It's a good showcase problems. One of the things that I feel are really cool about prequels is I like it when a prequel shows you a side of something that you didn't know before, and it makes you view the original in a different light. That's something that I really appreciate. I really love that about a prequel, and I always felt like when I look at Star Wars, it's kind of like one of the big failings of the Star Wars series, I guess, or all the prequels. Yeah. Did you ever play like the Metal Gear Solid games, Adam?
Not yet, but I know a lot about them.
Fuck. Okay, so Metal Gear Solid is a good go-to. I could say Rurouni Kenshin, kind of. I know there are other examples too, but like these are movies where, or if you've ever read like The Vampire Lestat or any Anne Rice novels, I don't know. You have a character that's like a very bad character. It's a bad guy character, somebody like Darth Vader. And when you make prequels, like the cool thing about a prequel is you have a chance to make somebody warm up to this character and kind of flesh them out in such a way that when you view the original, instead of it just being a big bag antagonist, now it's more of a tragic character because it's like, oh man, I totally understand where he comes from. And I like to point to the Metal Gear Solid series because they do this really well. There's a big bad guy called Big Boss, and he's kind of like the boogeyman in the first two games, but then in the third game you play as him and you become very sympathetic to his story, such that by the end of that game you don't even really know if he's a bad guy. And I always thought that like in looking at like the prequels for Star Wars, I don't know how other people, I never feel sympathetic towards Anakin. Like, Jesus Christ, he's just an annoying, whiny, stupid character. They do a really bad job.
Now this is pod racing.
Yeah. And then same thing in Solo. Like in the Solo movie, it's almost cringy to like suggest your own ideas or whatever. I'm not saying how a film should be made, but I felt like that should have been a film where you become more sympathetic towards Solo coming out of it, where it's like, oh, like I totally understand kind of like why this character is the way that he is. And it doesn't always have to be in a tragic sense, but I felt like it was just kind of like telling a story that you could have already pieced together, anyways. It's like, oh, Solo grew up, I guess as a kid, he was probably always like rough and tumble, and then he kind of becomes rough and tumble and like whatever. It would have been way more interesting to show him in like a way different light, and then to kind of show some tragic event that like radically shapes him, and it's like, that's why he is the way he is. And that would make you view the originals in a different way, I guess. When I think of prequels, it's kind of how, I guess, what I enjoy about them, but I understand they don't have to be that way. But
I don't think Disney is interested in doing anything interesting. I think that they're looking to make nostalgia cash grabs, and that's it. Just, hey, remember this? You remember that? You love this character already, right? Well, we're doing it some more.
Yeah.
You are not lying. 2019 has live action Aladdin, live action Lion King.
Yeah.
What's else I'm forgetting here?
Friend to die.
There was like a lot of
Dumbo.
there was like 4 films. Oh, and Dumbo and something. I remember there being a 4th film all in 2019.
Yeah. It's upsetting.
How do you feel that every Disney
really
animated movie is going to be remade? I guess that's the path we're on. That's going to happen. You know that like Mulan is like fucking in the works. Like,
yeah.
It's really, I'm really just waiting for this trend to die because they're not better. Beauty and the Beast sucked, and the character designs suck. Like there's very few things that you have to do to make it appealing.
Dude, you are not lying.
Every one of them's like
so hideous in the new one. Oh my god, it
like
terrible.
the furniture characters and like the teapot and how like it was just paint that was moving for their mouths and stuff, and like everything's too dark. Everything's shot like a Zack Snyder film now. It's like, how did you decide in your board meeting that this is what people want? What? When did that happen? Are these successful? I guess they are. You're doing more of them. It's so annoying.
Well, one more thing, just the icing, the cake on the Star Wars rant here is that, man, can I admit here a guilty thing? I will go see Star Wars 9, but not because I'm excited from the resolve of like the cliffhanger of 8, continuing forward and wanting to see 9. It's because I saw so much of the buildup from 7 going into Rian Johnson's story that he has for 8. And I'm like, okay, well, you raise parents, pointless. Stoke, pointless. Even Rey and Kylo uniting together, and I'm sorry, spoilers, and doing the new thing with like a new unified front against the Resistance or something like that. Also not happening here, or whatever the fuck, or it was outright declined in the first place. So like, where the fuck do things go for 9? Like, there's so in Finn's arc also, his Finn's antagonist dead. Like, where do things go for 9? I genuinely wonder, like, what can J.J. Abrams do with what writing can you possibly do at this point and not have some cheap cop out of undoing an event from 8 to make things move forward in 9? So for that reason, I'm gonna go see 9 for like the ship posting, and I'm curious of what the fuck they're gonna do, because I genuinely can't even tell anymore.
I mean, people are gonna see it. It's gonna make money. Because like even the people that hate the franchise and have sworn it off know that they can make money by, talking about it. So people are gonna see it. Like, people watched the Emoji Movie ironically, and it made a crap ton of money.
Yeah, I actually just looked it up. Because earlier you said, how do a bunch of execs get together in a room and decide this movie we want? That Beauty and the Beast movie made like $1.26 billion or something. It's
Yeah,
insane.
Oh, it's so stupid.
So I mean,
And the music was
watched
bad
it.
too.
Oh
It
man,
was
that
auto-tuned.
auto-tune.
It was so
It's
obvious
so
to me. It was
noticeable.
terrible.
It's so bad.
From the very jump, I'm like, even musically, it's inferior. Musically, visually, the fucking Beast and Belle's bonding to me was horseshit and synthetic and dumb. And you made Gaston, who was already a one-note character, even more one-note. The whole, oh god, I hated it. I fucking hated it, dude.
So
Yeah.
to pull back and actually kind of generally from this happens in video games too. It really happens in everything. Maybe we can talk about capitalism. How do you feel about the idea?
Cool.
How do you feel about the idea that because the profit motive is so fucking strong in movies, that all of the money today is going towards people that can make the safest films possible? What is kind of like your take in general on that, or your feelings in general on that?
Oh, this is a good question.
Well, if you check out my top 10 lists, most of the films on there are made from talented directors that have their own unique vision, usually writer-director combo. There's, certain films that will show up that are obviously also big studio productions. The Lego movie was one of them, but it had good writing behind it. Blade Runner 2049 was funded by Sony, but it had talented people behind it. Denis Villeneuve and Roger Deakins. But yeah, it's just a reality of the studio system. I don't know if it's necessarily. I'm trying to think of what the alternative would be if we're going to include capitalism into the argument, how films would even get funded.
Yeah, so like something that I would think about is, so I'm not a big film guy. Like I don't love film. Like I know you know a million things more, but I guess if I were to think of it in terms of like music or video games, like everybody has a director that they really like, that they wish maybe had more freedom and the ability to do more things. Like I'm sure there is some director that you like that's made a film on probably a pretty small budget that was really awesome, and kind of the idea of thinking, what if that guy had the resources of like a major studio to do anything that he would want to? Like what kind of like awesome shit could that person do?
Yeah, and I think the best way to help make that possible is to share their films and get them to a point where they're a bigger name because people are actually interested in their product. Somebody like Christopher Nolan, like he's a huge name. He can literally just say like, hey, I want to make this movie, and then Warner Brothers will be like, okay. They're not going to bug him about it because he's proven so many times that he's a commercial success. So he has tons of creative freedom, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it really depends what kind of movie you're making. If you're going to be in charge of like a big pre-existing franchise, you're not going to have that much control. And yeah, it's really unfortunate that like these big budget ideas, of which there can be so many good ones, Hollywood studios just aren't willing to make risky business investments, and risky business investments can otherwise just be described as anything that's not perfectly safe.
That's not a superhero movie or an action movie or a horror movie.
Yeah. And so many of the films that I love in a year are usually like indie movies made for anywhere from like $1 to $10 million, or established directors that, can fund their projects and have creative control, lots of foreign cinema and stuff like that. And so I think it's important to seek those things out and help recommend them to people so that people understand that, yeah, there's a lot of bad movies in a year, but if you look really hard, there's some amazing films every year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of like the parallels that you're bringing up about the this troubling trend. I say troubling, it could be troubling or perceived as such. How you get these like artsy like indie directors that get acquired by a big studio to helm a massive franchise, right?
Yeah.
And it's it can be debated, right? That it's similar to how like EA acquires smaller studios, wrings them out for their IP worth or whatever it may be, and then dissolves them and puts all those employees who are maybe long term on a per game contract basis and then destroys them anyway. So do you find that those indie directors who are like locked down, what comes to mind particularly for me in this whole thing is like who was the guy who directed Fan Four Stick, the Fantastic Four reboot?
Josh Trank.
Yeah, he's probably the most notorious example of this, right? Where he like didn't he make Chronicle?
Yeah, but he was an idiot in that situation though. He was an absolute
Tell me about this. Why was
idiot.
he? Why was he dumb? Why was he dumb?
Well, okay, so like Chronicle is a film that just like miraculously got funded, even though like literally him and Max Landis, the writer, had only really proven themselves with like YouTube videos and stuff like that. Miraculously got funded. It was a success. Both of them have healthy careers ahead of them. Josh Trank signs on to Fant Four Stick, and him only having directed, a relatively indie-ish movie, and where he had a lot of creative control, he jumps into this project where it's a pre-existing superhero intellectual property, and obviously Fox didn't want a lot of crazy changes to be made. They wanted to have creative control, and that makes sense because they own the franchise. It's a superhero movie, like you can't. He wanted really badly to have his very own Fantastic Four interpretation, but when he realized that that's what he couldn't have, and that the studio was going to make a lot of decisions for him, rather than just biting the bullet and being like, okay, Taika Waititi approach, one for them, one for me. I'll bite the bullet. I'll make this dumb movie, and then I'll make the movie I want to with all the money, and I'll have another movie under my belt, and I'll get funding for my passion project later. Instead of doing that, he imploded. He just stopped showing up. He would show up drunk. Apparently, he like let his dogs shit all over his trailer. He literally just said, "Fuck this. I'm not making this movie. You can't make me do anything." And so all these ghost directors who are uncredited in the film had to scoop up the pieces of this dumpster fire that he created and try to film the rest of the movie. That's why the movie ends on like a dime. It's just like, oh, there's a movie happening and done. It's like the whole thing just ends so abruptly, and that's exactly why. And what's really bizarre about this whole thing is there are a bunch of 4chan posts from before the movie was released that supposedly only could have come from him, just with the knowledge of what was featured in those posts. I'll have to fact check that later, but
that's hot.
Before the film was released, like 2 days before the film was released, Josh Trank goes on Twitter and says, there was a really good movie in there before Fox ruined it. You're literally trashing your movie. A studio project where you're supposed to prove that people can trust in you for a film, that people can trust that you'll, play ball at least in a way, that people can trust that you'll promote their film. Like, they signed you for the project. It's not your project. Bite the bullet. This is how the studio system works. It sucks. Learn from it. Make your own movie later. But instead, he just like, he destroyed his career. Apparently, he's making another movie though, so we'll see how that goes. Apparently, he's still getting funding. But holy crap, was that ever a dumpster fire? Trashing your own movie to try and make yourself look less bad. Just like, I know this movie sucks. Don't watch it. It's not my fault. Before the movie's out, come on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like,
man.
you don't do that.
Not if you want to work with a major studio.
I'm not a big fan of the studio system. Exactly. Yeah. Like, I'm not a big fan of the studio system in the first place. But like, you signed on to this. What did you expect when you were gonna make a film of Fantastic Four for Fox?
Okay.
Now,
go ahead.
Actually, I was gonna. I don't know if you wanted me to derail into Warner Brothers, because I feel like there's like, speaking of incompetence in a woeful sense here, I could easily go on about how the mismanagement of the DC extended universe, and how I wanted to actually ask him if he had he seen Justice League, but that's not really an urgent topic here. What do you have, Destiny?
Oh, I'm just looking for opinions that we disagree on, because I want to know why I'm wrong on something. Because my audience always shits on me all the time for my movie opinions, and now that I have a movie guy here, I'm trying to find out what I'm super wrong about.
Well,
here's a hot take.
I usually don't try to convince other people to feel differently about a movie.
It's not so much
my channel, I know. But
yeah, it's not so much a convince you that I'm like totally wrong, but more like I guess a more diplomatic way to say that would be that somebody that's more educated on a topic could maybe point out something that I'm missing for why I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's a take that I had. I hadn't seen Blade Runner. Blade Runner came out, the new 2049, I think, right?
2049.
Yeah, Blade Runner came out. I hadn't seen this in a long fucking time, and people told me, watch it, blah, blah, blah. And I finally, a couple weeks ago, got around to watching it. Kind of low expectations or whatever. I watched the original Blade Runner first, just so that I could have, perspective. Then I watched Blade Runner 2049, and I'm not gonna lie, I really liked Blade Runner 2049, and I wasn't expecting to, and I really fucking hated the original Blade Runner, even in context. I tried to challenge people, like, can you tell me what's good about this movie without using the phrase world building or ambient background or atmosphere? Can you tell me what's good about this movie? And I can't find a defense for it. Can you tell me why the fuck anybody likes the original fucking Blade Runner?
Well, this is the original Blade Runner falls into the same category as a lot of. So Blade Runner is a film where its fingerprints are on every kind of like futuristic dystopian film that came after it. Part of why people appreciate it is because it was like the first of its kind, and it really set a new trend and inspired a lot of other directors to create other works. Like we probably wouldn't have The Matrix. We probably wouldn't have like Dark City, you know? And in terms of like props and set design, it was super impressive for the time period. A lot of it looks like super real. The effects are great. I really enjoy the soundtrack, but I'll agree with you. If I'm like, when it comes to the original Blade Runner, like that's a film where I appreciate it, but I'm not gonna sit down and watch it to have fun. I'm not gonna sit down and be like, hey, let's watch the original Blade Runner. The new one, I'd do that. Like I consider that to be massively entertaining and like all aspects of it brilliant. But the original Blade Runner pacing issues, I feel like the story is kind of, it feels clumsy to me. I've seen it a couple times now. I'm just like, I'm not really into it. But I still very much appreciate it for a product of its time, and especially considering the greater scheme of how it influenced other films.
Fuck. So. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I don't disagree.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't contribute. I haven't seen either Blade Runner, though. I did hear good things about 2049. So, and that starred Ryan Gosling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Big fan of him. So I haven't caught it yet. No. Actually, I know there's a particular movie Destiny wants to get to here, but I do want to bring up, you brought it up here earlier about polarizing. The initial review I watched from you, YMS, that that really had me like get that big respect for you was your Toy Story 3. Because I was another one, man. I was another big, Pixar, dick riding, blah, blah, blah. And I did cry. I did cry at the end of Toy Story 3. But I feel like that's because I had like the noob lens of like looking at the film in a first viewing under a spectacle, and then not getting into the analytical lens of plot structure, pacing, and honestly how much of the plot was borrowed from the previous Toy Story. So like your review really, I was like, damn, man, I want to hate this guy, but I can't because he's fucking right, dude. He's right.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's definitely an older review back when I still use a lot of old memes in my videos, but that would be one of the ones that helped my channel out early on. I think that was my like third or fourth review. Like that one's probably from 2010 or 2011. But yeah, my biggest issue, like I'm more likely to talk about a film or a subject if I know that my perspective is something that's not just going to echo what everybody else is already saying. And it's not like I'm fabricating my perspective. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm trying to be different. But if I know that there is an opinion that I have that goes against the grain and I feel strongly about it, then I feel like, okay, well now I can actually make a video about it because like I have something to say. Otherwise it would just be pointless, which is why I didn't watch the Emoji Movie, because it's like, oh wow, you didn't know it would be bad. It's just
right.
Just
there's nothing of production to come out of that. You make another angry review. It's like,
Toy Story 3 was just a rehash of Toy Story 2, and I just didn't think it was great. Toy Story 4's coming out.
Wait,
yeah.
really?
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about that
Key
one.
and Peele this time.
Yeah, it's a big shit show because I'm sure you heard about the John Lasseter sexual allegations, right? And also the fact that there hasn't been any female directors at Pixar for their, whatever amount of years they've been doing their thing now, 20 plus now of making films. And it's apparently because John Lasseter is a giant control freak who has a huge ego. And like, I believe when other associates within the Pixar brain trust were pitching ideas, he was insulted. He felt personally attacked that he couldn't come up with a good idea, or he didn't have like a better idea. So he often would shelve other people's ideas for a continuing Toy Story and wanted to really do it himself. And so, you know, he had a draft that may or may not have been as impressive as the other people who had things counter to his ideas for the franchise going forward. Then the allegations happen. He has to step away. Production kind of gets halted and goes in this giant mess. And now it's not really known anymore if it's still going in that same direction of like, is it going to be a romantic comedy? Because it's supposed to be like a new genre being tackled by Pixar, but a romantic comedy involving giving a lot more depth to Bo Peep, the initial sheep herder character from Toy Story 1 before it was introduced in the later series. Yeah, it's supposed to be like a thing between Woody and Bo Peep and be irrelevant to Andy, the entire Andy trilogy being done. So just want to get out of the way because people are going to freak out about the trilogy's perfect. We got it. It's supposed to be completely irrelevant, standalone film. They're using Toy Story 4 as like a title, but really it's just because 4 is a more effective marketing tool. You can call it Toy Story the comedy or whatever.
Regardless of whether or not Andy's in it, I don't think it's going to be good. And I don't trust Pixar at this point. I think that post 2008 Pixar has just been a lot of garbage and a lot of cash grabs and a lot of trying to recapture the magic, but not really doing anything all that innovative or interesting or special.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's been a lot of miss the last like 10 years plus, I could say. Or,
yeah,
about 10 years. Yeah.
What's like the cutoff between?
Because only Coco for me is like really like the one I really enjoyed. I enjoyed parts of Inside Out, but for the most part I didn't like Inside Out actually.
Yeah, Coco was decent. I didn't find it to be anything like mind blowing, and I'm spoiler warning. I'm so sick of that trope, that villain reveal thing, you know. And they do that so often. They did that in Toy Story 3. You know, like it was the good guy the whole time. Yeah,
the bear and then this guy and
it was cliched to the point of him literally, like, how many times have we seen this in a film where it's like, oh, the villain is like being filmed to a live crowd of people and he's going to say out loud the secrets that he doesn't want them to know, but oh no, he's being projected onto a screen and he doesn't know it. I did this thing. Everybody sees. Oops, did I just say that out loud? Like, how many times has that happened? And otherwise, I mean, like, yeah, there are parts of the movie that I enjoyed. I found a lot of it to be like really predictable. I really love the animation. I love the style. I love that it was a fresh change of pace for, I guess, the overall aesthetic that they were going for. I found that really interesting. I really enjoyed how like they put detail into the actual notes on the guitar being played, like they're accurate. Like you could literally look at the character playing guitar, match that, and you'd get the same notes. I think that was really cool. There was stuff to appreciate about it for sure, but just like I need, for something like that, especially a Pixar movie, like I need a solid story, and I need there to be no half-assing. And I feel like kids movies are a genre where oftentimes the writers, you know, especially in the third act, will be like, whatever, it's for kids, they don't care. And it's true, but at the same time, then we shouldn't really treat it like it's anything more than a kids movie then. It's like if you want to make your movie like that and you want to half-ass aspects of the story and be like, whatever, it's kids. They haven't seen this trope before or whatever. That's fine, but then I just don't feel like we should treat it like anything more.
That's fair.
I think WALL-E was the last really genuine one. I think that Up, I loved the first 20 minutes and the rest of it I'm just
this
like,
is exactly what I said. I said the same thing. It's why you got to go watch Rogue One, because like the thing me and Destiny were getting at earlier about Rogue One is that like people who defend Rogue One, it's like the final 35 minutes, the final like entire action sequence is cool, but it doesn't excuse the prior 90 minutes of like boring nonsense happening everywhere. Like, you know, like a film, you got to judge the whole film, not just like the good part of the entire film. It's like being told that, you know, oh man, the episode 1 of this series sucks, bro, but it gets really lit by episode 7. Well, then because they had to do all the world building was homework, and now that shit's happening, now it's good, but it doesn't mean that the whole thing is good. Fuck.
Yeah.
If I can, real quick though, another thing about the structure of your YouTube videos, you when you do reviews of films, you do two things here. You do what you call quickies, and then what I would just dub, you know, your regular extended reviews here. a quickie review for you typically is like a 5-minute thing. You get into it. Is it suck? Is it worth seeing? Rating, and you move on. Very, very effective. What determines for you?
That's where we get shit takes like Prometheus was an okay movie. Oof.
Sorry, oh shit. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna finish my point now. We're already in there. Prometheus, 2012, directed by Ridley Scott.
No, I don't want to just focus on like single fucking movies. I feel bad. I'm not trying to ambush.
No, do it. I don't mind. I'm really.
Oh, I'm
gonna do it.
I thought Prometheus was a fucking horrible movie. It was the only movie I've seen where where if I wasn't with another person, I would have left the theater. That was about, I don't know, spoiler alert, but it was sometime after she had stapled her stomach shut and then like walked to like the main people in the movie, and literally nobody cared about any of this. And I'm pretty sure this was like after she had kind of figured that like shit was super fucked, and there was like a huge reveal that a guy that was dead is still alive, and literally nothing in this movie matters and nobody cares about anything, and it just fucking drove me crazy. Holy shit.
Yeah, I found it to be like watchable. It doesn't make sense. There's tons wrong with it logistically. It's a dumb movie, and the characters act super irrationally. Like there's an endless list of just why would you do that, or that kind of idea in the film.
Yeah, the CinemaSins, but not really though. But genuinely stupid.
I felt like there were some redemptive qualities to it though. Like I thought that visually it looked really great. I thought that the cinematography in the film was fantastic, especially the opening shot.
I guess
that opening sequence I really enjoyed visually.
Yeah, where they're like coming to the planet. When did Prometheus come out? I guess I feel like
2012.
2012, even in 2012,
somewhere around then, 2011.
I guess
it was 2012.
I've seen so many things. It's hard for me to be impressed anymore by like, wow, this CGI shot of this planet is so cool. I mean, like, I guess it is cool, and Prometheus did look nice, but I feel like it's just not enough anymore to carry me through when there are so many other horrible fucking aspects. And like the thing and the thing that bothers me the most is like, especially when I'm watching like horror thriller or really any movie, I understand that every plot is going to have some level of contrivedness to it. Obviously when you get into like extreme contrivedness, it bothers me. So like scientists wandering around, not having any idea how to navigate anything, even though they'd made a map, or like whatever. I mean, it's whatever. But things that bother me are more like plot elements that narratively don't fit. So for instance, like in Prometheus, the fact that the Wayland, I think Wayland was his name, the guy that owned the massive company, the fact that he was still alive, that's a big reveal, and it's supposed to be a big reveal, and it's treated like a big reveal, but when it happens, it's totally inconsequential. So it's like, why? What was the purpose of making this? Like, nothing comes of him being revealed. And not only that, it's treated as so blasé that the woman that just stapled her stomach shut is even allowed to, like, walk with them to the place afterwards. Like, why do these things when they're so inconsequential? And that's kind of, those are the mistakes that really bother me. Or I say mistakes, but those are the things that really bother me, I guess, in movies like that.
Yeah, it was, a lot of the movie is just kind of like Ridley Scott intentionally blueballing people and being like, oh, it'll all make sense someday. I swear, but it won't.
It didn't in Alien Covenant. Oh, I don't know if you saw that.
I found Alien Covenant to be worse, though. I don't know if you agree with me. I found Alien Covenant to be much worse because, like, even the redemptive qualities that I found from Prometheus, like, same director, it's not well shot at all. Like, what happened? Like, this is a part of the same series. Why don't we get any kind of like interesting or appealing visual aesthetic here? The movie looked like shit.
Yeah, it was really dark and edgy and spooky, and there weren't any really cool shots at all.
It's like it wasn't filmed by him, or that he just lost his shit.
The closest I can think of is like, is it the opening like 5 minutes? I think where they're like exploring the planet. There's like a couple of okay things there, but past that, it's all like just really dark and moody, and I don't care about any of the characters or anything.
Yeah, I found Alien Covenant to be more comical and funny. Like, I was more entertained by it. Prometheus was a lot slower, but Alien Covenant had some pretty hilarious slapstick Three Stooges moments where everybody slips on the blood. I found that to be really funny.
Yeah.
Like, hey.
Yeah, it was a shit show. A couple things here. One, Prometheus, I do agree. I did go see it in 3D, and if I recall correctly, it was Ridley Scott's debut into filming 3D natively. So the film did look phenomenal in 3D, by the way. And I can't say it for I say that for very, very few films. There's so much. I kind of give up on 3D now because there's so much post-converted 3D trash going up Disney Marvel that I don't even bother with it anymore. But yeah, I did think it visually looked great, but I agree Prometheus was an exhausting stupidity mess to sit through. comparatively, Alien Covenant, I agree with y'all, man. It's the entire plot is nonsense. I found it incredibly dumb, bloated, and stupid. And I hated the fact that Alien Covenant, right, is rated R. And it's like there's that one. I'm sorry, spoilers here. Not really though. There's this one scene where the couple on the ship are like fucking in the shower, and you get like a glass tube against the thing, and it's like that is only in there because you're going for the R rating. Like this has no purpose otherwise. I don't know. Is that a common thing? Like just throw like titties in the fucking screen because you can do it in an R-rated film? Like what's the like? I don't understand that.
Yeah, I
it
mean,
contributed
it
nothing.
probably would have been R-rated either way, but
it kind of reminds me. This is a total like fucking 90-degree. I saw the movie. Did you see the movie It? You must have, right? By the Stephen King.
Yeah, the new one.
Yeah. That was actually a movie where there was a part where like a monster in the very beginning bit the arm off a kid, but other than that, I felt like that whole movie could have been PG-13.
In a sense, yeah. I mean, like I felt like a lot of the sequences, you know, when they like entered the house.
Yeah, the bathtub. That was a lot of blood, dude.
The floating blood, you know, like there was some cool stuff in that movie. I didn't think it was like amazing, but I was pleasantly surprised by it. I wasn't expecting to.
Yeah,
enjoy
I didn't think it was a bad
and
movie. I thought it was going to be a lot more visceral, I guess, given the R rating and the fact that it was a Stephen King movie. But other than like, because the most shocking scene for me, like holy shit, was the beginning where like the fucking 6-year-old kid's fucking arm gets bit off in the sewer. I was like, damn, I don't think, and nothing else in the movie came close to like holy shit like that. I thought that kids were going to be getting like killed and stabbed and shit the whole time, but. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like the formula for horror films is like you grab people with what is the potential consequence at the beginning. Like you always want to make sure like you have an opening slash and that it's somewhat brutal or gruesome so that for the rest of the film people are anticipating something like that. That's just a horror movie thing.
Yeah, sure.
And I wish that the opening scare was something that I could take seriously, but what was really bothering me about that was the performance of the very young boy, who I don't want to shit on too hard because he's a little kid, but at the same time, it's like when he's screaming, he's like, Billy, and that literally just like that. Like he's not. Come on, like I've seen little kids stub their toes and they're shrieking at the top of their lungs. You know, like you can't pretend like that was the best potential out of the performance for that kid. Get him to scream.
Fly him to another country where we have less protection laws. Smack the shit out of him and then fucking throw a camera in his face. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah, child actors are tough though, man.
I mean, if
you think back
recorded that afterwards, they could have just dubbed the audio, you know?
Oh, that is true.
They could have gotten another kid to do it. There's no excuse for that.
Think of this, right? Imagine that you're directing episode 1 Phantom Menace, and you got like, you know, an hour and fucking 15 minutes of young Anakin. Like, man, that is like you might as well put your head through a fucking wall, dude. You got to get this kid to like emote so much dialogue and so much nuanced dribble. I could only imagine dealing with that shit show on the set.
Well, I mean, it's your choice, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if you are Lucas, it is your choice here. But I'm saying it's like not easy to get kid actors to like to do the right thing or whatever. It's a lot.
I mean, well, my favorite director, Michel Haneke. I was watching. I went to Toronto Film Fest and I saw like a live interview with him, and he was talking about working with the child actor in his newest film Happy End, and he literally just said exactly what I thought he would say just based on his works is like, yes, it took a lot more time and I had to work more closely with the child actor, and I had to put in an extra effort to get the performance out of her and really delve into how to get her to portray the emotions that I wanted to because she's younger and less experienced. But that's what you got to do. It's part casting and part effort. But a lot of the times directors will be like, oh, it's a kid, people won't care. And a lot of the times people won't because they're actually right. You know, if a kid does a crap job in a movie, people will go like, it's a kid. But for me, it's like it breaks the immersion just as much as if it were an adult. So I feel like that it's an important aspect to pay attention to and to put effort into, but it's just often ignored. And in the same vein as people making kids movies and being like, whatever, they won't understand this trope or like this cliche, can go in the film because they're kids. Same thing. It's people won't care because they're kids. People have lower expectations, and I don't like the idea of intentionally worsening your product just because you think people won't give a shit.
Yeah.
Heard that. So what triggers you more, bad kid acting or the chick who ran in high heels in Jurassic World, who ran around the park in high heels?
Which was that?
Because
The
that
new
okay,
Jurassic World, or was that they're both bad. The new Jurassic World was like funny bad though. That was
was it?
hilarious.
Okay,
That
I'll
was
have to go see it.
that was wild. It was like it's actually really funny.
Fuck, that was
Okay.
another movie that I actually totally forgot that I fucking saw.
Oh,
that was
man,
a movie
it's
that
so good.
I don't understand. What the fuck? The main
Lost Kingdom.
Yeah, I guess with the main bad
Fallen
protagonist
Kingdom.
dinosaur like shows up like fucking at the final like the third act and you don't even care. Oh god. I don't even know what the redemptive qualities of that movie were. It was so fucking bad.
The Indoraptor.
Yeah.
Skills more acute than any of a human soldier or whatever bullshit they tried to say. I love when it winked at the camera, like, haha, I'm not asleep.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Like the raptor like winks at the camera, like, get it? Haha, I'm awake.
I didn't see the
Like,
first.
It's aware of the audience.
Yeah, I didn't see the first Jurassic World because they're just not my movies at all. I don't even think I
It's
can catch it.
boring.
But
Jurassic World 1 is boring as shit, dude.
I heard
Like,
at the very least though. I thought
sad.
the point of the movie was there was like a big bad dinosaur that was kind of like the focal point of like the big bad guy. Is that true or not true?
I don't remember. I think it's literally just the same thing as Episode 7. It's a soft reboot of the first Jurassic Park film.
Oh, gotcha.
Really?
Yeah, it's just they open up the Jurassic World Park again, and it's the miracle of the thing, and then it immediately gets into a derail because the T-Rex gets out because of incompetence, and it's just, dude, it's so fucking monumentally stupid because like no one this rich is gonna ever be this dumb. I would say. I could be proven wrong about that at this point.
It's literally just a safe copy paste. The Jurassic World is the Episode 7 of Jurassic Parks. That's literally all it is.
I can agree with that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Fuck, and that movie
and
grossed
they kind of try to $1.3
billion. Oh man.
It's one of the most successful films ever made.
Oh man. Yeah,
and
it's a
is.
budget of
What's
less than
hilarious
200
about
million. Yeah.
And it's
with
so
Jurassic
bad.
With Jurassic World 2 being so laughably bad, and especially where they leave the ending and the implications of where they could possibly continue this story, I'm glad that it was successful and made money, because that means we're probably going to get a third one, and it's going to be so funny from the beginning of the film. Just where things were left plot-wise, it's like, okay, this is going to be great.
Like, what
I
can you
can't
even
wait.
do
Like,
now?
it's
What,
so funny.
dinosaurs in space? Like, what the fuck else you gonna do? Like
They're
no, please,
gonna
Adam, what are you gonna
attack the
do?
shitty. They're gonna be, they're gonna be like in New York again or something.
Oh my god! All
It's
right,
like, oh, dinosaurs in the city. Scary.
yeah, or something.
The Indoraptor, he's too smart. He's smarter than a regular raptor.
Okay. I'm
All
gonna.
right, this sounds like Rampage, the movie that came out this year with The Rock, but like even stupider than that. Like, dude, there were so many bad films this year. Fuck, dude.
I'm sure there were good ones too.
There's great movies.
Yeah. They're just
Yeah,
not as.
I'm sorry, I'm thinking of like the major marketed ones. And you're totally right.
of course.
I should give more attention to the good ones. You're right.
Well, that's the thing, though, is like the film industry is very much like the music and the game industry, in the sense that like some of the best things that are coming out are independent titles. Like, especially in gaming right now, you look at some of the most successful titles like Minecraft and Undertale, all of these independent projects, now that we have things like Steam and Xbox Live and all these like self-publishing tools, indie gaming and indie music, it's just exploding. But unfortunately with films, I think people have a tougher time finding what they like and finding ways to discover what they like. The closest thing that we have to that right now, I guess, is like Netflix.
Yeah.
Where something can get popular off of Netflix. It's almost like self-publishing, but it's not really. But yeah,
it's also really difficult. There, like, because I think that I mean, maybe it's not totally fair to say, but for video games, one man in a dream can actually accomplish quite a bit. Like Undertale is Toby the guy that made the game too? That's like a 1 or 2 man
Toby
project.
Fox.
Yeah. Did he was the music and the actual like game designer and everything, right?
He did most of it. Yeah.
You've got games like that. There's the Dust game, an Elysian Tale. You've got Stardew Valley. Like there are these literal
Limbo.
1 man projects. I don't know if it's as easy with film to do that. That feels like
it depends on who you are. Have you heard of Shane Carruth?
Nope.
Mm-mm.
He directed Primer and Upstream Color, And those films are not like nearly as successful as like the games we just talked about.
Mm-hmm.
But you can make films in this day and age. Just get a digital camera. You can make a film for like $22,000 or something, and you can actually, if you know what you're doing, you can make it for cheap. Like he stars in them, directs, does the soundtrack. Obviously, there's other actors and there's like a crew, but it's usually like small crew kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess actually that's true.
So it's not impossible.
Sure, no, that's true actually. Because now that I think about it, I don't know. Maybe this will trigger you. I don't know how your feeling is. One of my favorite new horror movies. I was a huge horror movie. I don't want to say horror movie buff because I was literally fucking 8 years old. I watched every fucking old horror movie, all the Child's Play, all the Freddy Kruegers, all the Nightmare or
me
the
too.
Jason. Yeah. Everything. Hellraiser, all these things. Puppet Master. Of the new horror movies that came out, so like past 2000 or whatever. My favorite one was actually the first Paranormal Activity. I really liked that movie. And I think that was made on like a $20,000. Yeah, I think that was made on like a $20,000.
Yeah, that was like $10,000.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. I guess.
It gets a bad rap because of the sequels.
And
also because it started a trend, where everybody was like, "Oh yeah, we can just make low effort found footage films." And so like 2007 through 2015 are just like endless found footage garbage in theaters. So obviously people got really annoyed by that. But I think the first film is a great example of like, okay, if you have no money and like 2 actors, you can still make a movie and it can still be successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that one blew up. Blair Witch Project is a really great example of something that really blew up. Like Napoleon Dynamite was super low budget. That blew up.
That is true.
But yeah, I mean, they're unfortunately a lot more rare for films to really pierce through and break into the mainstream audience, because there's always going to be so much red tape preventing them from reaching an audience. A lot of distributors like Fox Searchlight, they won't even properly advertise or distribute Wes Anderson films, even though it's very clear that he is a marketable name, that he makes films that people want to see. But they're just like, it's an indie movie. We're not gonna we're only gonna put it in like 10 theaters, and then maybe if they all sell out for 2 weeks, then we'll put them in more or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of annoying. Whereas like video games and music, it's so much easier to self-publish, and it's so much easier to get your name out that way.
Yeah.
Films, not the same case, unfortunately.
Here's something, you brought this up earlier, and this is actually intensely interesting to me. You mentioned kind of in the beginning you were inspired by the Red Letter Media people.
Yes.
I wanted to do prepared content a long time ago, and I dabbled in it a little bit. One of the things that I noticed when I first started was when I started to like actually write stuff for YouTube videos, is that I looked at the stuff that I was writing and was like, oh my God, I am so heavily influenced by a couple of these people that I've seen and I like. And I remember in the beginning, it really worried me, like, am I going to be like a copy of these types of people? So early on, you said that you really respected the Red Letter Media guys. When you kind of developed your channel and started making videos, was that like a worry for you at some point that you'd be copying a tone too much? Did you try to explicitly avoid that? Or how did you approach that? Finding your own voice, I guess.
Literally my first video, I flat out say, yes, I know I'm ripping off Red Letter Media, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It was more about getting my points across, and then, with each video, I developed my own style from that. So, like, you look at my first video, nothing like the videos I'm making right now. Like, right now, I've made my own thing very clearly, and there's other people who are emulating that style too, which is really interesting. And I don't care. I mean, like, find your footing and turn it into something that you can call you. But I think that it's important to allow people to sort of figure themselves out at first and figure out exactly what is going to define their content and their style.
Were those explicit
choices? It wasn't really a worry. I was just, what do you mean? Explicit choices to like rip them off?
No. To move away from them. Did you ever like say write a script for a video and be like, I think this is too much like Red Letter Media, I'm going to try to change this in some way? Or did this just kind of organically happen?
I think a bit of both. I mean, I don't think that it was like a gigantic effort that was like the most important thing to do. Like it was all just about illustrating my points and making it funny. But after a while, I was like, okay, well, this actually, I'm more able to illustrate my own points better if I structure it a little differently. If I do this, here's where my strengths are, here's where my weaknesses are. Like a lot of my videos, a lot of people like them just for like the editing, like the joke edits that I throw in them, and that's become like kind of a staple for the reviews, I think. So yeah, a bit of both. I wouldn't say that it was like the main thing that I was trying to do breakaway, but it just kind of it also happened naturally.
Sure.
So
okay, cool. Yeah, just curious.
Cool. If I can bring it back here, we got caught up in shitting on Prometheus and Alien Covenant for quite a while, but I didn't actually get to finish asking you the question that when you do reviews, you do quickies that are like in 5 minutes, little bursts of, is the film good or not, and then sometimes you do extended reviews that are like 20 minutes long or even longer. I would actually love to know what determines for you, because sometimes you do extended reviews on films that are like not big, like you'll do a 5 minute on Jurassic World 2 because that film's trash and garbage, and get it done. But then you'll give like an extended review on a less known film. So I'd love to know what determines for you doing a quickie 5 minute versus an extended elaborative review.
Really just what I have to say about it, and what I mean, like the longer reviews, like those are projects that I literally spend months on, so I have to kind of pick them more selectively. And once I go with it, it's like, okay, well, this is what I'm doing. Like I've been working on my Old Boy remake review for a while now, and it's hopefully going to be out this month. I'm trying really hard to make that happen. But it's going to be like an hour and a half long, not even kidding.
Damn.
And
wow. Okay.
Man, there's a lot to say about it. But yeah, it's really just how much do I have to say about it? What can I do to make it entertaining? So like I try to make it so that like I'm not just making the exact same video over and over. So something like After Earth was a project that I chose because I'd made an entire career review of M. Night Shyamalan already, and people wanted me to say more about it. B, the interview footage for that film in particular, all the cringy moments with Will and Jaden Smith, there's so much gold there. There's so much gold there, and I wanted to share it with the world,
Can I pause it? I gotta tell you that, dude, your After Earth review was amazing. I had never. Here's what I like about it, by the way, because it wasn't like a review that you like have to watch the film to understand how fucking stupid and dumb it is, or even like the grand amount of effort being put into it, and it's still being stupid and dumb. Like your review took me there. I understood all the shit I need to understand about how cringe, literally, Will and Jade Smith are, and just like, you're amazing job, by the way. I tell you, I forgot I saw that review. It was great.
Yeah, that's one of that's definitely one of the ones that helped me my channel early on. But yeah, other than that, I mean, like it really depends because a lot of the films I either want to be able to say something and offer a perspective that I haven't seen a million times, like I wouldn't want to waste my time, and I guess I'm just going to keep using the Emoji Movie as an example. I wouldn't want to waste my time on like a full review of the Emoji Movie. I know it would get views. There's people that would flock to my channel because people want to hear things that they already know. People want to hear things that are comfortable, that they already believe. They want to be preached to, right? But I don't really want to do that. I'm not really interested in doing that. And even if there's a movie that perhaps like is universally known as bad, like Cool Cat or Neil Breen films, those are ones where I didn't feel like there was a proper audience for them yet. I was literally the first person that had ever reviewed Cool Cat. It was something that I wanted to share with the world. Megan is Missing, another example where it's just like, there's some really cringy shit happening in this, and I really want everybody to see it. And then Neil Breen, like I can't take credit for helping him blow up because he was already kind of a cult thing, but I really did. I think I did help bring him to, I guess, the meme status that he is today. Something like Amusement was a film where it's like, okay, nobody's seen this, but if you really think about the plot and you really dissect it, it's so funny. And nobody's going to get this experience out of it because nobody's going to make this video because nobody's seen it. And I want to share that with people. So the review that I'm working on right now, the Old Boy 2013 remake, is one that I'm tackling because not only do I hate the film so much, but a lot of people, not everybody, but a lot of people defend it and are like, oh, it's not that bad. I haven't really seen any kind of like comprehensive breakdown. And for me, like its biggest failings are just like how it so blatantly misses the point and misinterprets the original. And so in this review, I'm tackling it because in this instance, I get to do kind of like a comparison. And while I'm trashing a movie, I also get to explain what made the original film work and what I love about it so much. So it's going to be like a different kind of YMS review, but everything that, you know, people appreciate about those longer ones are still going to be there. But it's going to be like kind of half praise for the original, half criticism for the remake. So, and that's why it's so long. It's like 2 movies in one.
That's sick, dude.
That's really irritating to see why when something works really well in an old film and then it's kind of like quoted in a new one and it feels like it totally misses the point.
Oh yeah, where it's like, what movie did you watch? You know, you're remaking it because it was successful. Why do you think it was successful if you don't even understand? Like, what did you watch?
Yeah. I
Like,
almost felt
what did you get out of it?
I don't know if this is supposed to be a callback or not, but on one of the movies we watched earlier, Alien Covenant. I don't know if you got this feeling or not, but remember when the lady was already dead? I feel like the expectation for the audience was that you were going to see the protagonist from Prometheus, right, in Alien Covenant, but you find out she's already dead. Yeah. That kind of reminded. I wonder. I don't know. I guess it's not like 100% a parallel, but I wonder if that was supposed to be a sort of callback to Alien 3, where in the beginning of that film, the girl and the guy were dead. But it was like
I've only seen that movie once, and it was so long ago.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I gotta watch
Actually,
it
all right. So you have like an amazing brain. I gotta ask here, what's your process? Well, I'm gonna get to why here. That sounds a little creepy, but what's your process of watching a movie? Because like you're able to, I assume, for example, like Alien Covenant, we did a quickie on that, right? Like that you watch the film once in theaters. You didn't like have the film like on Blu-ray at the house to watch and like study and rewind back and like double check all your facts and whatnot. Are you going into a film when you're going to review it with like pen and paper and trying to retain plot inconveniences or anything good or bad? Or do you just like, do you watch it and get spectacle and data at the same time? I find I have to do like, if it's a film I look forward to, I have to like do spectacle first, then turn my fanboyism off or whatever if I'm going to probably enjoy the film. And then second time I can be a little more analytical with like what I like or don't like about it. How's it work for you?
I don't think that there's ever, for me personally, I don't think there's ever a period where I have to like turn off like a spectacle part of my brain. I feel like the spectacle for me, like when something's really effective, is usually in line with the types of the types of craft that I would be praising in a review anyway. Like if something is really effective for me emotionally, first of all, I'm obviously going to mention that in a review, but usually I can watch it and be amazed or annoyed by something and understand why and at the same time and in kind of like an analytical way. Like I don't feel like there's like a disconnect there. And I don't go in with a pen and paper. I usually just do it all from memory. But after the film, I try to do like a little recap in my head, or if there's a friend there, I talk with them about it after the film and write some notes down. But I don't really do that in the movie. I feel like that would be kind of distracting, not just for myself, but those around me. So,
gotcha. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have like one more cool question here, but did you I feel like we could have covered more movies, honestly, before I get to like my last question. Is there any, what else can we pick up on, Destiny? What other
Yeah, well, what did you think about the other Star Wars? No, I'm just talking about you.
I'm trying to think, what other troubling trend is there in modern blockbusters? Do you want to talk about the whole, like, I guess there's like a pseudo political thing here? You want to talk about Disney buying 20th Century Fox for $72.5 billion and how it's going to be, how are you going to see Disney be this powerhouse conglomerate? It's going to be unstoppable in another 30 years?
Yeah, that's their goal. I mean, they already control like what, 60% of the blockbusters in theaters right now or something, like the top grossing films. I don't know the exact number. It's something stupid.
Yeah, it's something insanely high. Yeah, it's pretty scary.
That's their goal, and it kind of sucks because I don't particularly see Disney as ever making anything like profound or special from this point on. Like, I don't know.
Okay, but in the Black Panther, that one villain, he was pretty two-sided though, wasn't he?
Yeah. It's I don't want a world where every film is made by Disney because they play it way too safe. But I gotta respect them for knowing how to make money, I guess. They're a money-making machine, but it's like, okay, we're not getting movies, we're getting factory products, you know? So
That's a very fair point there too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's art should not be in a factory. That's how I feel.
No, that's a really good one. I have another one here. On that note, speaking of Art Factory, so ever since I want to say the initial success, I guess quote unquote initial box office success of Man of Steel from Warner Brothers with their initial collaboration or their collaboration with Zack Snyder into the DC universe. And it's not about DC, don't worry here. But they had said that they were I think 2016 onward, it was their agenda to release fewer films a year and to have more, like I think they want to go for like 20 films released per year and all of them be like domestic blockbuster powerhouses and less about experimental smaller budget films and just going for the home run every time, like trying to go for like this, like the budget of the film is tethered to an equal sized budget for the marketing, right? So they're going for this go big or go home mentality. And I wonder, one, how you feel about that, and then two, is that backfiring them now because you're at a point now, particularly for Warner Brothers, where the Harry Potter franchise is done, right? Harry Potter Deathly Hallows Part 2 concluded, and now they're like stuck with like leftovers of the Fantastic Beast 5 film contract.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out what the fuck they're gonna do. And both the DCEU has been flopping, and the latest Harry Potter Fantastic Beast film, I hear, wasn't that good either. So like, how do you feel about Warner Brothers in general here, if they're like bad decisions galore and shitty luck lately?
Well, I mean, it's just they're oversaturating the market with this kind of material. If you don't have anything that takes risks, I think just people are gonna wind up being bored by it. You know, like I don't think that a lot of people are really interested in going to see movies in theaters anymore. Like people are just becoming kind of bored and I guess jaded from it. I can't really speak to Warner Brothers specifically, I guess. I don't. The only DC film that I watched was actually Suicide Squad because it was so bad that
it was.
And I wanted to see the Batman v Superman because it also looked bad, but it was like 3 hours long, and I was like, but I can't leave the theater, you know? I need to have some sort of an escape, so I didn't watch that. I didn't watch Justice League. I didn't watch Man of Steel. I'm just like not interested. But I guess kind of relevant to the point is like there are some companies at this point that are actually gaining recognition for not doing that. Like A24 is becoming a very popular producer distributor because they give a lot of creative freedom to the directors that they work with. So there is a market for that. And I would love to see the market get even bigger, but it just involves people being more aware and informed of what they're watching, and people, you know, actively seeking out films that they want to see and not just waiting for an ad to show up in front of them before they decide what to watch.
Yeah.
So,
do you want to try to hit some of the Reddit questions?
Sure. Can I?
Yeah.
Can I pee really quick?
Yeah, knock us out.
Okay. I will knock myself out too.
Careful.
It's the Red Bull.
Yeah.
I needed it. I only got 4 hours of sleep. I'll be right back.
You're doing good.
Oh shit. Actually, Destiny, could you link me the you already have the link open?
I can't bring it up on stream, or I can't like do anything in my Discord. But if you go to my subreddit, I think it's like the sticky thread at the top.
Sure, I got you. I'm on it. I was gonna save myself a click. Gotcha. And I'm trying to think of what else could we answer real quickly here while we're waiting to come back. Oh geez. Yeah, I had I guess just to clarify here, y'all, when we have a guest on, it's really important that we make the guest feel comfy. So we wanted to we agreed to make it our agenda to focus on movie stuff, right?
Oh yeah, we're just doing movie. Oh,
Yeah.
That's fine. I think most people should understand that.
I'm back.
Just so y'all know.
Oh, can I real quick? Because there's like one guy that has been going fucking crazy in chat. I think he spends like 1 million times, and you brought up A24. Can you give us your quick take opinion on the movie Hereditary? I have not seen it, but man, this guy really wants to know your opinion on it.
Well, I made a quickie review for it. I liked it. 7 out of 10. Did not like what's his name, Alex or Nat Wolf. His crying sounded more like he was mocking somebody crying than actual crying. I loved the hope you don't mind me saying this, subversion of expectations. It did not go where I thought it would go. It was like a not as great version of Rosemary's Baby, but still a refreshing horror film. I loved the first half more than I loved the second half. And I feel like it better than a horror film. It works great as a drama and character study. And there's amazing performance by Toni Collette. Lots of great stuff. So I would recommend it overall, even though I have a couple issues with it.
Okay, there you go. All right. Well, in that case, jumping into the Reddit thread. Whew! I'm gonna throw the first. What? The first big question. We fought so much over this. Oh man, what is your take on CinemaSins?
I'm glad you asked this question. I'm so happy you brought this one up. Go for it.
I get a little offended when people say that I'm like CinemaSins.
I agree. Oh,
yeah.
Fuck, I hate CinemaSins so much.
What do you think about it? What do you think about it in general? Just give me like your general. When somebody says CinemaSins, and you've got to like give your general opinion about it. What are your thoughts on CinemaSins in general?
I think it's trash content. It's clickbait. It's not. There's no effort put into it. There's nothing interesting or profound being said. And sure, they could admit to it and they can be like, okay, yeah, we're not really a criticism channel. It's a comedy channel. But at the same time, it's like, I don't even see any kind of comedic or entertainment value out of it at all. I think most people watching are essentially just looking for a way to get the entire plot of a film without actually paying for it. I don't really think it's not funny. It's not interesting. It's
do you think it's doing like do you think it's doing like active? So I got into a huge thing with my fucking stream. Okay, so there are people, I didn't realize this. So for the most part, I agree with you about CinemaSins. It's like, if I'm really fucking bored and it's late at night and I've gone through enough Watch Mojo videos or some shit, maybe I'll bring up a fucking CinemaSins shit. But for the most part, it's generally low effort, clickbaity, whatever content. There are apparently people, and maybe you're one of them, I'm curious, that are like incredibly fucking ass pained by the existence of CinemaSins, that think that it's like doing active destructive harm to movies.
I wouldn't go that far. Because people can choose what they watch, you know. I usually don't join on that bandwagon. Like, it's a legitimate thing to do. There's a market for it, you know. If you make your money doing that, then great. I just, you know, if I'm going to criticize it in the same way that I would criticize a film, because YouTube is also an art form. So if you're on the platform making content, then I think that it's perfectly fair and reasonable to provide criticisms for it and state my opinion. I don't think that it's like actively ruining film criticism, because I don't think most people take it seriously anyway.
Okay, well, because that was the argument that people make. Because my argument was that like it's clearly satire, or at least I think it is. Like, I've never watched a CinemaSins thing and been like, oh man, I really like this movie, but then I saw the CinemaSins take on it and I realized it was a shit movie.
I don't think anybody does that.
Well,
I really don't.
Be careful with that, because apparently there are a lot of people that think that the arguments that are being made, I guess, I keep saying a lot of people, maybe this is literally only my audience. I feel like I was being linked. No, because we watched a big YouTube video on this with a guy, I wish I could remember the guy that fucking did this, but his argument was essentially like,
I think I know who you're talking about.
Can you say the name, or do you not want to?
I don't remember the name.
Oh fuck. Okay, yeah.
But I think I know who you're. Was it the bald guy in front of the camera, or no?
Is that,
or was it
is that Bob Vids?
Or was it the guy with this? No.
Oh, maybe Sean and Jen made a video about it. Sean and Jen made a video, but there were other videos
Sean
too.
and Jen definitely made a lot of videos on CinemaSins, that's for sure. But I didn't watch the whole thing on that.
But it was
like, I mean, like the same things have been echoed.
We're getting very fucking mad. The idea that literally, like, it is doing a horrible harm to movies, and that people watch CinemaSins and take it very fucking seriously. And it was just like blowing my mind. Like, I was just like watching, I was like, damn, I don't know. I thought that it was just kind of like a meme clickbait shit thing. Like Watch Mojo. Like, I've never watched like a top 10 list from Watch Mojo. But like, oh my god, like, I can't believe they got this so fucking wrong. Like, this was clearly the best like mecha anime of all time, and Watch Mojo totally fucked this. This is horrible. Like, I don't know. It seemed really really weird to me that people take CinemaSins very fucking seriously. And yeah, I was kind of curious if you had a strong opinion there. I guess.
I think it's just people reacting to how popular it is.
Yeah, maybe.
And thinking that people take it a lot more seriously than it does. When in reality, I think it's like mostly kids that watch it that are bored.
Okay.
Yeah. That's what I hope too. I worry that people would take it as like serious critique, and then they would like use the the continuity errors of like a A/B camera like dialogue shot as like the reasons why, I don't know, X film that should be perceived better isn't, or whatever. That's why
They're
I
not
worry it's
making
gonna
any
be.
serious arguments. It's like,
Well,
oh no,
I can agree with you or not.
thing.
But the thing I worry about is like you say these young kids now who are just watching it for the lulz, but like they're gonna like really be it's training their habits. They're gonna become continuity obsessed, nitpicky shitters who have no suspension of disbelief ever.
Yeah, but like I mean, like I feel like in that argument, you're starting to axe out like so much. Like, should all low effort content be banned? Because that's like literally like every low effort thing is going to be like pretty lazy in its critique, pretty surface level. Like I don't know.
I think that like it for someone to be that indoctrinated into it, that would mean that they would have literally no movies they enjoy, because CinemaSins covers everything. So like no matter what their favorite movie is, CinemaSins would have made a video on it. So they would like these people exist that don't love any movie because they watch CinemaSins? I don't think that's true.
All right, that's all I needed.
Well, I don't have the data to back up any further here, but I guess you're right. It's mostly a fear, but
I don't take it very seriously. I don't think that they're ruining film criticism or movies. I really don't.
Okay.
I just think that they're just really uninteresting, low effort content.
Yeah, I agree with that too. Actually, I will confess that I don't watch CinemaSins, so I'm not in the party that like hate watches them, like to try to like be purely motivated to like see their downfall. I genuinely also find it boring and have moved on since then. I've watched like maybe like 2 or 3 and saw that the general shtick is just
once you've seen one, you've seen them all. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is kind of an interesting question. We kind of talked about this a little bit earlier. Do you prefer the new trend of smaller/lower budget movies going straight to streaming platforms? Do you think all movies will soon be released straight to streaming services, resulting in movie theaters becoming unnecessary? It's kind of the broader question. Do you think there's value to the movie-going experience, like theaters try to sell?
I would like to just have the option of streaming and theatrical release at the same time, and I hope that eventually it moves towards that. But I mean, it would just have to be financially viable for whoever's funding and distributing the films. I mean, like, I enjoy going to the theaters in certain contexts. Like, I love film festivals. I think that film festivals are really important. And unfortunately, because film festivals wind up using a lot of existing theaters to screen their films in, if the entire theater scene dies, then those buildings don't exist anymore, and then the 2 weeks in a year where the film festival happens, it's going to negatively impact it. So I'm kind of mixed on this, but I feel as though even if you release something on Netflix and in theaters at the same time, there'll still be an audience that watches it in theaters. I feel like there are people that want the movie going experience, but they just have to make it more appealing for people, and they have to understand that they are the reason why people don't do it.
Sure. I do. Would you agree? You do get some. Do you think that you get something seeing it in theaters, so you don't necessarily watching it at home? Do you think there's an experience there that's unique, or no?
If I didn't have a sick ass home theater setup, then yeah. But
what does sick ass home theater setup mean? What does that entail?
I've got like a 4K projector and like a good surround sound and all that, and really comfy seating and
okay.
Yeah. I mean, like, I really enjoy watching movies at home, and I enjoy watching it with friends. The most stressful aspect of watching a movie in theaters is the other people around.
Sure.
So, like, that's what really destroys it for me, is because, like, it's always just, like, I try my hardest to organize myself in a way where it's, like, I'm going to see it at the time of day where there's the least amount of people for whatever demographic this is. And it's just so many theater experiences just ruined by by annoying people, or especially in horror movies, like Hereditary. There were so many dumb people just trying to be impressive by
Trying to be funny by shouting shit.
I'm curious.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is like too personal or if you say this. Like, what city do you live in?
Sure.
What like geography?
Vancouver, Canada.
Okay, because I think there's been one time in my life where I've had like a bad movie going experience. Are some cities just more prone to this? Like,
I don't know. I've been to a lot of different cities. I haven't really noticed any cities being particularly better or worse. Sometimes it's the type of movie, I would say, or the type of environment. Like Toronto Film Festival, out of all the film festivals I've been to, has the quietest audience, probably other than like Cannes, which is like super serious industry festival. But I mean, in a regular theater screening, you're always going to get dumb assholes who are just there to kill time and they don't really care about the movie. So.
Damn, that's really interesting. It's so rare. I literally think it's one time in my whole life where that's actually happened, and I know a lot of people complain about it a lot. So maybe it's I don't know.
How often do you see movies in theaters then?
Fuck, I must say at least like it's gonna be really low compared to I don't know, maybe like 6 to 12 a year, maybe like once a month.
Okay.
But yeah. The loudest movie I've been to would probably be like because even like I saw like for instance like I saw like the new Avengers movie on release night, and the only thing I can think of is like people clapping at the end of the movie. I saw Get Out in theaters and people were really loud during predictable spots in that, but I don't know if I would say it was annoying loud. Like it's not like people were shouting all the time. But so I don't know, maybe it's just I live like in a smaller city, right? I live in Omaha, Nebraska. I'm moving to LA soon. Maybe once I move to LA I'll have a different opinion. Cool. maybe I'll understand the annoyance of movie shitters, but I don't know, I've just never had these horrible theater experiences.
Probably.
I can give you a little more insight there. It's just anecdotal, but like having been to lived in Orlando, Florida for 13 years, and then in Louisiana, and having been to theaters in Houston, in Austin, and Dallas. Yeah, you go to a big city, it's a shit show. Like genuinely, like people are really done with it. There are so many cell phone talkers. There's so much
like that. What you just said, I can't imagine that. If I was in a theater and someone was actually talking on their cell phone, that would blow my fucking mind. I've never seen that in my life. That actually happens.
Yeah.
So to be fair, talking on cell phones not that common. It's Facebook scrolling, texting, and the phone being at max brightness.
Holy shit!
It doesn't even matter if it's max brightness or not. Even if it's on the lowest brightness setting, you shouldn't do that. There's been like a couple times where it's like there's something really important that I need to do on my phone during a movie, just a couple times. What I'll do is I'll put it under my shirt and I'll go like this. And it's just like, okay, no one can see it, lowest brightness, whatever, and that's it. And I've only done that a couple times anyway. But it's like people are just so...
I mean, holding it up and out, dude, not a fuck given.
No, that blows my mind. I can't believe that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would do. That's insane. I've never had like an experience like that before. Like even you saying like, oh, well, it doesn't happen all the time. I could never imagine being in a theater where someone's like talking on their phone or like blatantly like texting.
You need to,
it's
you need to get out of Nebraska and come over to like a big city. It's toxic, dude. Like
maybe Omaha's like the secret mecca of like film appreciation people. They're all hidden.
But I will admit, Adam brings up a great point here. Before I was a full-time streamer, when I used to like be a waiter on the weekends and want to go see a film, I couldn't go see it until like Monday. I would literally go to like a Monday matinee just because I wanted to go when there was fucking no one around. So I had to deal with any of that shit because I had such a terrible experience that I still remember vividly from having gone see Spider-Man 2 debut Friday 2004. And having like literally having kids running up and down the aisle with their Spider-Man dolls, fighting each other with their Spider-Man dolls behind me in the seats. Another kid on the bottom left corner calling Mary Jane a fucking thought and bitch the entire time. One because like she was like being all moody around Peter Parker and shit. Talking about if Mary Jane came to my crib, I fucking smashed that bitch so it was really good. Know what I'm saying? Dude, the whole fucking movie, it was unbearable, dude. It killed me. Like, I was genuinely, I was destroyed. I had to go see the second time because it was so frustrating being in that theater that night.
Holy shit.
Dude, annoying kids and stupid people, dude.
The audience for Toronto Film Festival is like generally pretty great. Like there's exceptions depending on the type of screening and depending on who's there. But like there's been some screenings in Vancouver Film Fest where it's like it's not as serious of a film festival. It's more spread out. It's like less of an industry thing. And there was a really great film that I had already seen once at Cannes, but I was showing my friends, called Burning, a South Korean movie that was one of the best films of the year, I would say. And it's an R-rated film. There's like sex and masturbation, violence, murder, whatever. Some woman brought her baby to the theater, and it was like cooing and crying during scenes in the movie until like halfway through it. I was like, "Take your baby outside, please," like out loud because I had to. And then some other woman just like white knighted her and was like, "No, her baby's fine here." It's like, why did you bring a baby into the movie theater? Why did you just? If you can afford a movie, you can afford a babysitter for 2 hours. Otherwise, you shouldn't be going to see a movie in theaters. Wait until the home release. You know, that annoyed me. Yeah,
I agree with that. That was you're giving me PTSD now. I remember going to see Bad Boys 2 in theaters and just like, oh man, it was, oh god, the kids would not shut up, dude. It was so annoying, man. Fuck. But yeah. Anyways, the point is, yeah, Destiny. There's definitely a value to going to matinees because it sounds like you haven't dealt with like the theater woes of the modern.
No.
Public.
This would be like a 2011 Destiny would make the joke. Now I'm kind of understanding more of the Aurora shooter guy, but since I'm the new 2018 Destiny, I would never make that joke.
Reformed.
Do you see any other? I mean, I don't want to go too much longer. Do you have any? I guess like final thoughts or questions or anything, Trihex?
Actually, yeah. Okay, so I wanted to tell you, all right, I've been trying my best to hold back the fanboyism here, but if I have been a proud patron since February 2015 when I initially ran into you. Just wanted to let you know that. But the reason why I'm bringing up is not to flex. Well, I guess it was to flex, but also the I recall a while back here, you had a Patreon goal, right? Where when you met X goal, that your vision, your dream vision was to now use the funds accumulated from your Patreon to move towards making a film.
We have some broken
is that still happening now? Is that still happening now?
Well, the goal
what's
was
changed?
never reached. The goal was never reached. The goal is still not reached. But I removed the goal in of itself because my trajectory has changed. Because the goal is still to, I would love to create my own feature film at some point. But right now, my big project I'm working on is my album. Which I'm just self-funding really, and I've been recording that for 2 years, and so I bought some camera equipment, and I'm essentially using the music release to have an excuse to create music videos, which are just short films, and from those short films I'll gain experience and figure out what how to operate a camera properly and what lenses do what, and like the whole ins and outs of creating something, because I wouldn't want to just jump right into creating a feature-length film when I don't know what I'm doing yet. And so I need to have that kind of like testing ground to figure things out. And so like that's still a goal. And when the time comes, I'll probably have like its own Kickstarter or something. Who knows? But right now, it's just a matter of doing things with hands-on experience, so I can really develop my skills in a way.
Oh, that's fantastic, man. I totally understand that too. You don't want to hop in. You don't want to make the mistakes that some of these other people have made, where they do like their, debut their one indie film with like no effect shots, and then they get picked up by a big production company like Disney or Fox or whatever, and now they got to do like this 1,700 effect shot film that with like tons of green screen, and they are getting carried by the production staff as opposed to them doing anything meaningful. So I get that. I feel that. Get the toes wet. Do your thing.
Yeah, and so I have some ideas, but when I make something like big like that, and right now like my big project is my album, but like after that's out, then I'll reassess and figure out what I want to be doing, and especially how those music videos turn out and how they go. I would like to create some short films, and then really after that point be like, okay, what are my resources? What is a potential budget? What can I do? Do I have producers that are interested? What was the success of my album? Like things like that. So there's a lot of different factors to account for before I start like a huge film project. So that's why it's kind of like on the back burner for now. It's like I need to focus on these projects first, and then from that they can be kind of like a stepping stone. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, I saw a lot of people spamming in chat.
Thank
That it
you.
actually, I had no idea that you were into music. Then that bothers me a lot. Fuck. Maybe next time I'll.
Oh yeah, that would have been a cool. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, you both could do some music,
Yeah,
some music topics.
Okay, cool. So I mean, like, so I guess like kind of my final question, I guess then would be two-parter. One, if somebody wanted to watch what you would consider good movies, so stuff that's not mainstream but that you feel really bad that a lot of people are missing, where would they look? And then secondly, yeah, what project do you want to promote or whatever, or anybody here that you would want to check out that you're working on?
Well, I would say that the best way to find those movies is going through my top 10 lists, because I intentionally don't spoil them. I include little clips from them to, the like less than a minute long that I feel best represents what the film is. And I feel like those lists have helped a lot of people out in terms of like discovering things that they might not have, because not everything on my top 10 list is going to appeal to everybody. But at the same time, I feel like no matter who you are, you're bound to find at least something where you look at the clip and you're like, oh, that's interesting enough for me to check out and hopefully like it. So
where can those top 10
that's
lists
why
be
I
found?
create those just on my Your Movie Sucks channel.
Okay.
They're in video form. Yeah, top 10 films I've done from 2008 to 2015, and I'll be creating more. But they're also gigantic projects. So I'm gonna be finishing up my YMS review first.
So it take a while to do. Like, is that like? I'm sorry.
Well,
do those take the longest for you to make? These like big top 10 year-end ones?
they take a long time, because when I do them, I'm literally going through like I have my watch list, and I add anything to my watch list that could even be remotely potentially potentially something that I would enjoy. And so just the act of watching through all those films when there's so many of them, and I don't even want to start creating my list until I've seen all the ones that I feel have some sort of potential. Just that alone adds so much time to the project, which is why I never create lists. Like, you're not going to see a 2018 list this month. And I know a lot of people create their lists literally just December at the end of the year. But at that point in time, it's like there's so many foreign and independent films that haven't been properly released yet. They've only been screened in a couple theaters. There's no Blu-ray sort of thing. I want to make sure that everything's like fully properly available before I even start doing that. And yeah, so yeah, I would just say check out some of those lists if you're looking for some stuff that I love, some stuff that I would really highly recommend.
Cool.
And yeah, for things I want to plug, I guess my podcast, Sardonicast. We talk about movies and other things. It's with me, Ralph the Movie Maker, and I Hate Everything. My main channel, Your Movie Sucks. My music, it's called An Unkindness, and the only material that's publicly available right now is some like demo material from 2010, but it's done pretty well, and although not being very high in production value, and me being like 19 when I recorded it, it's still something. And so the album I'm working on right now is my like first full project that should be out next year. We're coming very close to the end of the tracking. Just got to do mixing and mastering. I'm very happy with how it's turned out so far. I guess just to promote it a little bit more, one of the tracks on my demo was covered by Blondie.
Yeah,
which
Fragments.
was really cool.
I saw that. That's really sick.
Ooh.
Yeah. So they think I can make music. Maybe you'll think that I can make music.
What is the what's your link for promoting that? I see the YouTube channel with the Sardonicast, but what's your link for your album where they should look for that, I guess?
I guess the YouTube, it'll be on the YouTube channel. I'm just gonna literally release it there. It's youtube.com/anunkindnessvideo.
Gotcha.
Otherwise, anunkindness.com. It's just a direct link to my Bandcamp. But yeah, it'll be available on Spotify, iTunes, all that. And it'll all be updated when it's released. So
cool. Someone in chat said he seems like that friend that's always shitting on the strain of weed we're smoking. I don't know why.
Yeah. People think I smoke a lot of weed. It's not.
One of the questions in the thread were, why did you start doing hard drugs? Is this a meme or?
Oh, well, no, I'm an open book. I talk on my streams, I talk a lot about myself, and my songs are essentially just therapy of my own real life experiences. And I guess I started doing hard drugs because I'm depressed and there's not really too much to get into about that, but just, being in a bad place overall. Sorry to end the podcast on not a happy note, but I mean, like, it's in my music. It's there. It's all about, self-expression and creativity. So,
okay.
Did the trihex get cut off?
No, sometimes when he's thinking of a really good final question, he'll just be in that pose for a little bit.
Oh. Nope.
He might have gotten cut off. Okay, so
whoops.
Oh wow, nice. And now everything gets messed up because he disconnects. Well, hey, thanks a lot for coming on.
Oopsie. Yeah,
I'm
no
sure
problem.
Trihex appreciates it. I know that I appreciate it. Maybe sometime we'll come back in the future and chat.
Yeah, I would like that.
Yeah, I really appreciate it, man. Thanks a lot for coming on.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, and
it was fun.
Yeah, I'll catch you in the future. We'll be back next week, guys. Same time, I think 12 CST with the next episode. I don't know if we've got a guest lined up for next time, but yeah, make sure to check out those links I posted in chat with Adam's channel, the Sardonicast, and then his album. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. I'll see you next week.
Thank you so much.